At you, man. Every time. I was just thinking, I'm going to hit record on this shit, and then I didn't.
Yeah, I know.
I am fucking stoked about tonight, my friend.
I know you are.
It's all you've heard about.
I am too. Yes.
But before we get into that, what are we drinking tonight, good sir? We announced it last week.
We did announce it. So this is the Whistler Distiller Select Double Oak Small Batch Triple Distilled Irish Whiskey from Bowen Distillery, County Meath, Ireland.
It's fine.
Yeah,
it's Irish.
It's Irish. We speak English here. Yeah. So Distiller Select Double Oaked. So you brought this?
Yep.
Ooh, that smells good.
Yeah, let's do it. I want to smell it. Support.
See, I like to appreciate things.
Yeah, I don't appreciate you.
I know.
I do. I love you with all my heart.
All right. So we're live right now. Anyone that happens to watch, we'll take some calls later, possibly. But you want to introduce your guest?
Yes, I fucking do. You're talking too much, man. I'm kidding. So today we have a guy I've been a big fan of for a long time.
Yep.
And just a super cool guy in general. Vet, fucking ex-Ranger, Pararescue, TV all-star, overall badass, fucking mechanic, writer, producer, all the things in the world. Today we have Mr. Wil Willis himself on. How you doing, man?
What's going on, you guys?
Not
I
much,
poured
man.
myself a drink too. I had to.
Oh yeah. What are you
What
drinking?
you got?
I'm having a canteen of water.
Oh, nice.
Well, cheers, my friend. Thanks for being here.
Yeah, I'm having a beer.
Okay.
I think I am having Firestone Walker IPA.
Okay.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
this is the double jack.
Oh,
okay.
nice.
I've got
There
a
we
beer
go.
to the side in case I want it later. So
Yeah, he's the beer guy. I can't do the beer, man. I've tried so many times. I used to get so much shit for it, but I can't.
Yeah, yeah. I'll have one or two at the end of the day. I got the Nova running today, so it's.
I was
saw that.
about to say fucking congrats, dude.
Yeah.
That is awesome.
Thanks, man.
Yeah.
We were actually I saw you go live on Instagram on the phone while we were getting set up. I was like, oh shit, he got the Nova running. And
Yeah.
You know what I did, but I have like crappy reception in my driveway.
Yeah.
So I actually got it running. I pulled it out of the garage. I had it all set up to like show everybody with the hood popped, and I was of course going to show it off a little bit. And then as fate would have it, it was like, no need to do that. No need to do that. Don't brag. Like we'll make something go wrong.
Yeah, but I told him it's good for us though, because he's going to be in a good mood now when he calls. So
Yeah. Actually, that is it does help.
So what year?
Black sunshine for a while now.
Yeah. So what year is your Nova again?
It's a '63 Chevy 2 Nova.
63 Chevy 2 Nova.
They didn't start calling them Chevy Novas, I believe, until '68. So it's a Chevy 2 Nova SS. But the original had a straight six, an inline six in it. But this one has had a 383 stroker dropped in, and
Nice.
it's a beast. It's a gnarly little car, man. I love it.
Well, it sounded good from what I could hear through a phone. So
Yeah.
that's always good. So
Well, I mean, just the fact that she started running, that was good enough for me. I mean, it could sound like garbage as long as it's galloping down the road.
right on.
well,
You got anything off the bat? I actually wrote things down tonight. I'm a little bit more prepared than
I
usual.
know I'm proud of you. I'll let you start since you wrote a bunch of shit down.
I'd say I wrote it down. I copied it off my phone. So I guess, like I said, dude, we're super casual, like obviously crazy professional here, with how we jump into things.
Right.
I have an extensive list of questions to ask you.
Okay. Yeah.
I do not. No, the first thing actually that struck out, because I was doing a little research on your background. Obviously, most people watch and tune in, probably know you from Forest and Fire or some of your other History Channel stuff. You've done a lot with them. Like my oldest is 17, and he was like, "Oh man, that's the guy who was Triggers." The web shit he loved.
Right. That was actually American Heroes Channel. It was a military channel, and then they rebranded over to American Heroes Channel.
Ah, my bad.
So that's actually under the Discovery umbrella networks. You know what I mean? So like all of these networks, they exist under like History is under A&E,
right?
Or American Heroes Channel, stuff like that. That all exists under Discovery. So it's like two different entities, but kind of the same.
I got
the
you.
same kind of vibe, I guess.
I obviously did an amazing amount of research for that.
Well,
but
so Discovery used to have their headquarters here in Knoxville.
Oh, that's right.
And Scripps is still here.
Right.
But anyway, so yeah, Discovery.
But yeah, so my kid, my oldest, he was super stoked because he watched Triggers, like that was his. But he was really weird at a young age, not in a like murder people kind of way, but he loved fucking guns. He had an encyclopedia. He could tell you what gun, what war it was, what year it was. Like he was fascinated by that shit.
Video games,
right? Well, that was
video games. My sons are the same way. They could list off guns that I was like, what? What? You know, I've shot more guns than most people on the planet. Like the different varieties of guns. You know what I mean? Just because of Triggers and the exposure to that world. Right. You know, I mean, I've been able to hold like a lot of really classic pieces of firearms history, but my sons, because of video games, they can be like, hey, that's that. You know, they'll pick out some effing googly wobbly dude that I've never heard of before, and you know, and I'm like, okay, that's cool. They learned it from Call of Duty or from Fortnite or something like that. You know, it's crazy.
Yeah, no, it was very like he did a couple encyclopedias, and he's turned out normal though. So that's been it's my stepson, actually 17, but he's it's my kid. He's a fucking cool kid. But yeah, so I didn't realize until I was doing a little digging. Like you went to was it New York Film Academy? Is that where you rolled in?
I did actually. I enrolled in New York Film Academy in 2013. You know, after my job got sequestered away. You know, so my full-time job, basically because of sequestration, I was a regional director of operations for a company called ATSCC that was teaching tactical emergency trauma care to Marine Corps before they deployed. So, you know, and it wasn't just them. I mean, we were doing contracts with a lot of people, but the majority of our work was coming out of Camp Pendleton and Camp Lejeune. And then in 2013, I think with sequestration, a lot of that stuff went back over to the military where they were teaching, you know, the classes that I used to teach or running them. And then they were just, you know, it was like the full-time job was gone. And I really needed to decide, like somebody told me, like, you need to decide what it is that you want to do with the rest of your life. You know what I mean? Like, what is it going to be? Yeah. And I had already hosted like 2 TV shows at that time and was turning down some offers for things. And then I think I was like, you know, I just really like a good story. Yeah. I love a good story, man. Like if you can tell the story and you can spin a yarn that will engross and captivate a crowd of people, I love that. Yeah, I love that. But also it translates into like a good book, a good comic book, a good video game, you know, we'll have a good story, you know, a good movie, a good TV show. So you know, so I kind of, and I've always been a writer. So I kind of gravitated towards like, well, maybe, you know, because I've already kind of been in touch with this industry. I've been, you know, doing stuff with it. Maybe that's the right thing for me. So I just went to college. I used my VA benefits. You know, my GI Bill, and I went to film school, and it was awesome.
That's awesome. No, I thought it was crazy interesting because, and you know, at least my short time in the military is most other vets that I know, and there's always exceptions. I'm painting with a very broad stroke, but aren't a lot of what I would consider cinephiles. You know, Jerry Bruckheimer's God, Top Gun's the best movie ever made. That's the long and short of, you know, film enjoyment.
Yeah. Well, you know, when I was in the military, I was the guy that had like 300 DVDs, and my buddies would come over and borrow them. Oh, gotcha. You know what I mean? Like I was the guy that, like, if there was a movie that had an actor in it and you didn't know his name, but you knew something else that he'd been in, I could freaking trace it back for you. I knew who Jeremy Piven was before anybody else knew before Entourage. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like a lot of people, good, like, you know, actors, especially like smaller things. You know what I mean? I was really into like the indie flicks and like seeing like Two Dogs Playing Poker and like things that didn't really make it big in the cinema, and not in like a douchebaggy way. Because there are those fucking douchebag cinephiles who put themselves up on a pedestal and they wouldn't stoop to watch John Wick. Well, guess what, man? Keanu Reeves' weapons handling is pretty fucking on point as a real human being. So I can respect what he's doing, for make believe. You know what I mean? Like, and as a tactician myself, I know everything's bullshit, but I can, I can just enjoy the movie for what it's supposed to be, which is fun. Yeah, is fun. And like, that's what I really love about that kind of stuff. That's what I love about movies. They're a fun departure from like reality. You know what I mean? They're a meditation almost.
Yeah. That's one of the greatest fucking answers I've ever heard.
It really is. I mean, so like, speaking of Keanu Reeves, but he puts a lot of time and effort into learning how to handle those fire. I mean, I
love that guy.
I can't think of the guy's name out in the Los Angeles, the general area out there that he goes to. The guy's got a big following on Instagram and puts out some great videos, but there are several.
Jason Statham.
No, but there are some comedians, Joe Rogan and Burt Kreischer and Tom Segura, that go out there to shoot and get some training with him just because they enjoy it. So I mean,
you know what? Like, you can always tell when somebody doesn't know what they're doing with a firearm. You know what I mean? If you watch The Big Hit with Mark Wahlberg, like that first fucking movie that he did, me and my wife, we just watched it the other day. I made her watch it with me because I fucking love it. It's a great movie, right?
Yeah.
And it's great because it's fun. It's like, he's not a tactician. It's not, nobody's breakdancing and shooting like that. But like, if you look at his weapons handling skills then compared to like movies that he's done later, you can see that there's like a progression with the skills. Same thing with Keanu Reeves, man. I respect anybody that gets out there and learns what not to do before they go and do it.
Right.
You know what I mean? I think Will Smith did the same thing for I Am Legend. You know what I mean? Like he was so good with his weapons that it was hard for him to be nonchalant about like where he was pointing it because nobody existed in the movie, right? He was all alone.
Right.
Yeah.
But it makes a big difference. I think just even the amount of work that goes into just in a movie like John Wick, it's not, it's escapism, and it's a great film, but it makes it much easier to get lost in what they're doing because it's, whether you realize what you're watching or not, it has more of a brand of authenticity, if that makes sense.
Well, I mean, look, it's just like, it's being honest to what it is. It's a superhero flick.
Right.
It's a superhero flick. Like, I don't know. I don't know the whole history behind John Wick. I know that it was written by a guy who's from the stunt world, or maybe directed by a guy who's from the stunt world. I'm not sure. But like, the whole character is a superhero. He's just like James Bond is a superhero. You know what I mean? Like, and you just gotta ride the wave. You know what I mean? Nobody believes that Tony Stark is a real guy who has a suit and is defeating aliens from another cosmos.
Right.
For some reason, we can suspend disbelief for that, but not for other things. It's crazy.
So, when you watch a movie like that, and I know, like you said, The Big Hit, it's a fun movie. You enjoy it, but
I haven't seen that movie in years, by the way. So,
when you watch a movie like that, are there things about firearms handling or even tactical maneuvers and things like that you see and you're like, nope, that would never happen. They would never do, because I'm that way about some things. So my wife won't watch movies with me sometimes. So
of course, absolutely. You know what I mean? You're watching this stuff, you like that, but where it comes into play more. Is like something that's supposed to be authentic. Yeah, it's supposed to be real. It's supposed to be. If you're watching, what was that Jeremy Renner flick from way back? The one where he was the
Hurt Locker.
The Hurt Locker, right? Yeah. Like when you're watching that, and this guy's like leaving the fob by himself at freaking night. Like that's more shit. He's not doing that. You know what I mean? Like it's little stuff like that like bothers me, or. I think when it's supposed to be real, or like the guys doing a free fall jump, right? High altitude, low opening, or they're doing a hey-ho, you know what I mean? And they're all on oxygen, right? They're all on oxygen, but like the ramp is down and they're not on oxygen yet. Like, are you kidding me? You got to pre-breathe oxygen on the ground for 30 minutes before you ever fucking take off. And then any conversation you have in that mask sounds like, because it's like forced O2 into your face. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like, it's ridiculous. Like that kind of shit, because it's supposed to be real, right? That's the stuff that's supposed to be real. Like, no, that's not how it is for real. It sucks. It sucks. You're making it look like it's amazing, but jumping, hey-ho, full equipment with a weapon strapped to you, a 75-pound rucksack and freaking full oxygen. I mean, it's awesome, but it sucks too.
Right.
He sounds like me talking about Dickhead Santa last week.
I know. Oh my God. I get so torn up. I had something just derailed it. It's cool.
Oh, so
that's what I was going to say.
No, go ahead.
Just messing with you, man.
This is your show. This is your house. This is your equipment. Go for it.
Dude, that's your world, man. I just live here.
So, I had my wife watching some old episodes of Forged in Fire this week, just trying to prepare for some stuff. And my wife says, what do I know that guy from? And we don't watch the same thing, so there's nothing I could really tell her that she would know. But my wife says to me,
the naked pic's gonna come out right now.
No. They're not.
I would say a naked pic. You've been holding out on me, man.
No.
It might be around somewhere. I don't know.
My wife says he looks like someone from a Disney, any guy from a Disney movie. So now this is short-haired Will, and I don't know if you'll be able to see it or not when I hold it up here. But my wife put together this little stitch and said, "See, a fucking Disney prince."
I don't know who that is.
The prince from a Little Mermaid. Yeah,
Little Mermaid.
So my wife thinks you should be playing the prince in any live action version of the Little Mermaid. So just
I don't know about that. I don't know.
She asked me not to tell you that because she thought that might be offensive to you. But no,
yeah, so. Tell her. You know what? You could tell her I know all the words in the Little Mermaid. All of them, word for word. Like my favorite thing to do to like throw people off is to just start singing.
Oh, that's funny. No, that's what when he was laughing, he was talking about the realism in movies are supposed to be serious. Like the one, I was a coastie, and so the one movie was it The Guardian with Kevin Costner and Ashton Kutcher.
Yeah,
like the one movie the Coast Guard ever has had. Everybody was like, that's not how they would really do it. And I'm like, dude, be happy the Coast Guard got a movie. Just be happy.
They were the perfect storm too. The Coasties came in the perfect storm. They freaking made it happen, Captain. Don't go wrong on that.
I know. I just like to give them shit, like all the guys. Like that was a big deal.
It was an enjoyable movie, though.
You know what?
It was.
I'm gonna get in trouble for this. My wife's uncle sent he was coastie too, and then my brother-in-law, my sister-in-law's husband, so like my brother-in-law, he was a coastie, and so I give him a hard time every now and again. He sent a picture over, and he's like wearing his coastie uniform with the white gloves and stuff like that. My brothers-in-law, there's like 7 of them. Or how many? There's 5 brothers, so like they were all harassing him, and then I was throwing my 2 cents in, on top of it, just throwing fuel on the fire. It didn't help.
No, it's funny though. Like I worked with a lot of the guys that I worked with my last job were all ex-Navy like nuke guys, and of course I got shit all the time. Like, oh, I heard you better be 6 feet to be in the Coast Guard. Ship sinks, you can walk back to shore. All that shit.
Here's what people don't know about the Coast Guard. The Coast Guard does all of the coastal interdiction.
Yeah,
like the U.S. Navy isn't doing that stuff. So like drug running, stuff like that, the Coast Guard handles all of that, man.
Yeah, with like 45,000 people.
Yeah, and like here's the thing, dude. That's like peacetime stuff. That's 24/7. There's shit going down off the coast all the time.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. And like the Coast Guard's dealing with all of that crap. And I had a guy. When I lived in LA, this dude lived with me for like, I don't know, for like a few months, just because the friend of a friend of a friend. And then he lived with me and he was just the weirdest kind of little dude you've ever met in your entire life. You know what I mean? A really young guy and very naive. I didn't like him personally, you know what I mean? Like we weren't going to hang out and be friends, but like, you can live with me and pay the rent as long as you pay the rent. Like that's okay.
Yeah.
So I was in college. I was very broke when I was in college. I lived like a real college student, man. Yeah. Student loans, the whole nine. So like it was rough. But anyway, this kid reached out to me about, I don't know, a few years after he lived with me. And he was like, I was thinking about joining the Coast Guard because I feel like, it's the more intellectual of the military groups. He's like, and on top of that, they're not really getting into any real shit. And all I want is the money for education.
Right.
And then I sent him a message back. I was like, it's not for you, bro.
Right.
I said, it's not for you. The idea of sacrifice and selflessness and all that stuff. I was like, you just described all of the opposite. Right. All of the opposite of that. Like, you don't want to hang your balls out there for any reason. And the Coast Guard, you know, they, every now and again, they got to freaking put their nuts on the line. Yeah. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like, if you're telling me right now that you're just in it for the money, then you're in it for the fucking wrong reason, because they don't get paid that well. Yeah. It's not it's the greatest job in the world when you talk about camaraderie and adventure and just having a good time and being able to, like, you know, be in a workplace that is forgiving.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, I think that the military probably has the most forgiving workplace in all the world, the U.S. military anyway. Like, I mean, it really is like, you can snap on somebody, just totally lose your shit, and that's okay. Like, that's just fine. You know, they can snap back at you.
Right.
And, like, that's okay. That's fine. I mean, it's going to get worked out. You know what I mean? But it's not attitudes and behaviors that translate over to the civilian world. And that's what I was trying to tell them. You're not the right cut of cloth, kid.
Right.
You're not going to fit it.
Yeah,
that's the Coast Guard story.
When I first got out, I got hired at this company, and it was a contracted company under, like, in the aerospace side of things, but all civilian guys. And they finally hired, he was an ex-Air Force guy, and we were outside, you know, smoking, and start, you know, just talking shit back and forth. And one of the guys came out and like, what do you guys aren't being very nice. I'm like, dude, this is fine. Like, this is, I told him, I was like, it's great to be in a moderately toxic work environment again. Like, I enjoy this, you know, going back. It's a special kind of toxic. And I don't know. I love
it when somebody busts my balls. I love it.
Yeah, for sure. But what is it? Yeah. People go out like, don't you get upset when that goes? Like, no, I don't get upset. Like, we're all, at the end of the day, we all went through a lot of the same shit. Not all of us went through the same shit, but the base level of that, like you said, that camaraderie, the boot camp, all that bullshit is all at least in there. I always find it weird with the whole coastie thing, though, just because of my experience is much different than, like, we had a buddy that's an Army vet, and he was, you know, he was deployed overseas, you know, I think 4 times, and he went through some shit, you know, and we're both military. Yeah. But I do not put my service time in the same light as his, you know what I mean? I recognize that there are differences in the experiences that you have to go through.
No. I tell people that I'm the most highly trained unopened GI Joe of all time. You know what I mean? Like, I never deployed. Right. You know what I mean? I picked up a dead body here. I got a rescue in Iceland. You know what I mean? Or I picked up a dead body in New Mexico. I got a rescue in Iceland. I've done some, like, some cool stuff in the hospitals when I had rotations and stuff like that. But, like, as far as, like, real world, like, exchanging rounds with somebody downrange, I haven't done any of that. And I'll be the first to tell you, like, dude, there's no way that I could ever relate to that person, to a person who has done that on that level. You know what I mean? Like, I've done some adrenaline shit, but as far as I'm concerned, my 15 years in the military, I was like an underpaid extreme sports athlete. You know what I mean? I never got to do what I trained to do as far as like, you know, going to Afghanistan or Iraq, you know what I mean? And that's something that was hard to come to terms with, I think, for a while for me. Yeah. You know, because you do put in a lot of time, but it was also something that motivated me to leave. I was just like, I'm not going to get what I really want out of the military. And what I really wanted was to be in charge.
Yeah.
Yeah. And, you know, it took me a long time to kind of recognize that. Hold on, I'm pouring a beer.
I'll go for it. With Trump on his way out and hiring and firing all these people, you might have a chance to get in charge of the military if you really go for it.
You know, I don't know. I don't know.
No, that's fine. I'm not trying to bait you. I was just making a joke about Trump.
No, I like the Donald. I like the Donald, but you know, I mean, he's the commander in chief. So I'm not the type of American that talks shit about the commander in chief. That motherfucker's working. Right. I don't care who he is. I don't care if he's Obama. I don't care if he's George W. Bush. I don't care who he is. That dude is working 24/7 for America. You hope. right?
Yeah,
You know, what I have to say about politics now is more like it's about leadership. We haven't had real leadership in politics in a long time.
Yeah.
And I'm talking about somebody that sets the example, somebody that cares about every American. You know, I don't care if you're left or right. I honestly don't care if you're left or right. I hope that you understand that we all have to work together. You know what I mean? Just because the majority voted me in doesn't mean that I don't also represent the minority. You know what I mean? You can't be one-sided in politics. And any politician who says that they're one-sided, you know what I mean, that they represent one side but not the other, F them, they shouldn't be in office.
Yeah. Right. Yeah, I agree.
Because, like, here's the deal. You represent all of us. All of us. Whether you're liberal, independent, fucking Republican, I don't care if you're in I don't know, Space Force 5, okay? Whatever the hell you are, you represent all of us. Okay, so do your best to represent all of us as Americans, not as left, not as right, not as black, white, fucking Japanese, Chinese, Asian. I don't give a fuck. Represent your American constituency. That's how it should fucking be. And I'm tired of all of this finger pointing from people saying it's this guy's fault, it's that guy's fault, or this party's fault, or whatever. You know what? Lead. Set the example. Know your people. Look out for their well-being. Know yourself. Seek self-improvement. That kind of stuff, man. Like basic 101 military shit. Yep. And you know what? As a guy who was trained to fucking look all the way up the chain of command for that example, all the way up to the commander-in-chief, I'm disappointed in a lot of our politicians because they're not setting a good example. They're not doing the things that they should be fucking doing. Instead, they're playing politics. They're playing money games.
Yeah.
Well, you know what? It's going to come out in the wash, kid. That's all I got to say about that.
No, I think that's put as well as anyone else I've ever heard say anything about that. And I was honest, I was not trying to bait you into anything. It's just,
you know what, man, if I didn't have like skeletons with like meat on the bones, like living in a garage or a closet, I've got like a storage unit, you know what I mean? Like here's the thing. If politics wasn't about finger pointing and it was just about getting shit done, that might be something that more people, especially more military guys, might be into. But we all have a youth. We all have a past. We all have a background. We all have freaking, you know, dirt that we don't want some fucking like scumbag digging up and saying, you know, I heard from, you know, so-and-so that you cheated on your ex-girlfriend or whatever, you know what I mean? And then now you're answering for something that has absolutely nothing to do with the business at hand. You're answering for what? Your mistakes of your past? Let's talk about right now. What's going on right now? You know what I mean? What's the next step forward? We can go back all day long, but how much time have Americans spent looking fucking backwards instead of looking at where they are right now and taking the next step towards where we fucking should be? Yeah, it's not happening.
Yeah.
Sorry.
God damn. No.
No, I think
I'm tired of it, man. I really am. Like, we're a young country and we're so young that we're having a fucking identity crisis. Nobody's just American anymore. Even me, man, even me. Like, I'm proud of my Greek heritage. My mother is from Athens. My dad married, you know, a foreigner and brought her to the States, and she was like, I hate it, and she freaking got out. You know what I mean? So, you know, I mean, to each their own. I have relatives, like my uncle lives in Greece. Like, I am half Greek, and I'm proud of that. But before any of that, I'm American. I'm not Greek American. I'm just fucking American. You know, and I wasn't even born in this country. My mother's not from this country. I wasn't born in this country. I'm sorry, you guys got me on a rant.
No, go for it. This is good. I mean,
Americans, man.
Yeah. No, I mean, I agree with you. I mean, I think Steven's fairly almost solidly apolitical, and I'm someone that kind of falls as far as what someone would say you vote on or whatever, kind of down the middle. I mean, I'm a fairly fiscally conservative, but I'm very socially liberal, and you know, I wasn't a fan of Obama, but I wanted him to do well when he was in office.
Absolutely.
And that's it. So to kind of just touch back on something you said is like, whoever it is, they're the one in charge of everything, whoever it is. So why would you want anyone, Trump,
Dude,
Obama, Biden, anyone to do bad.
That are praying for failure.
Yeah, and that doesn't make any sense.
That Biden fails. They're hoping, they're hoping that Trump fails. Why would you hope for something like that?
Right.
We hope for the better things.
Right. I don't understand it. It doesn't make any sense to me.
Yeah, well, that's the negative world that we live in now. We all prey on that, on dirt. That's the good stuff.
Yeah, and all my kids are old, all my kids are voting age now. So I hear some of the stuff, the general things you hear in public, especially out of young people and things like that, and try to have some conversations. My middle child, my youngest son, makes the most sense whenever you talk to him about politics, because he, which is odd for a 20-year-old nowadays, goes out on his own and finds things to research and look into things, and then comes back and can have a legitimate conversation about what he believes because of the research he's done. And I'm proud of that, but I still have to deal with some of the bullshit that you're kind of touching on, because they're young and they're prone to kind of follow popular culture and society a little bit, and as they get older, I'm sure it'll change. So,
well, I also have older sons. I have a son that is, what is he, 22? He'll be, he's 22, and then I have another one that's 19.
Okay.
So talking to my sons is a lot different because they're so politically different. You know what I mean? They're on opposite ends of the spectrum on a lot of things. But one thing that I think that I and they can agree on is that we're patriotic in the best possible way. You know what I mean? I had a conversation with one of my sisters today, and she described patriotism, what it looks like to her. And it was offensive to me, the way that she described it. And I was like, you know what? I classify as a hillbilly, I guess. My dad's from Alabama. From
Mobile, shit.
Alabama.
Mobile, yeah.
He still lives down there in Alabama. I know what it is to have grits and go crab gigging and stuff like that. Like, I was raised a little bit hillbilly. We had fish fries and I identify, you know what I mean? Even though my mother's from a foreign country, I can identify with the hillbilly thing. And I found it offensive that anybody would say that being patriotic nowadays means that you're some kind of rebel flag waving racist hillbilly who likes to just shoot guns in the air and raise hell, and because you're cracker and you're angry. That's bullshit. Yeah. That's bullshit. Patriotism means so much more than that. Patriotism means standing up for your fucking country, even when your country's kind of fucking up. You know what I mean? Saying, yeah, we're screwing up a little bit, but we're Americans and we're going to rectify this or whatever, man. Everybody who fucking, oh man, anybody who denigrates the country that they live in, regardless of country, and the things that the country provides for them, it needs to freaking find some gratitude in their lives. It needs to find some way to be grateful for what they have. Sure. And I think here in America, we have a lot to be grateful for. A lot to be grateful for. And people have forgotten what it means to be actually grateful rather than just verbalizing it in some kind of weird fucking yoga mantra bullshit. You know what I mean? Be genuinely grateful for what's around you. Be genuinely grateful for the country that you have. Be genuinely grateful that you get to vote, for, one side or the other, every 4 years and maybe affect change where you live. That's something to be grateful for. And patriots understand that. They're Americans no matter what. You know what I mean? I don't care who's in office. I'm an American and I'm going to support my country no matter what. But maybe that's just the way that I was raised.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm smiling at you. Like you had no idea you were kicking that off.
No,
it's good. No, I've enjoyed it. I just,
I mean, this is
unexpected turn.
No, it's
I'm sorry, guys. Am I taking over your fucking podcast?
No. This is great. We like to have this where it's just like, we ask something and then it takes off. And
neither one of us are good interviewers. Obviously, we just like to bullshit and talk to people.
No,
that's what it comes down to. So this is fucking.
And we had a comment on Instagram from a friend of ours, Nick Reisner, that says, "Logic and reasoning when talking about politics. Get out of here with that shit."
You know what? Here's one of my big things. One of my big points to the American people. Okay, like everybody hates the government, right? Everybody, there's all these people that, like, the government's against us, and yada yada yada. But everybody buys into the freaking world's largest government daycare program on the fucking planet. Okay, and that's called public school.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Public school, largest daycare freaking program on the planet. I don't know how many people are suffering right now because they got to stay home with their kids and teach them. I mean, and they're suffering because, like, a lot of people aren't built for that.
Yeah.
But here's the thing: that whole program is run by the government, and the government runs a program where they don't teach critical thinking skills.
Yeah.
Why? They don't teach finance, and I mean real finance, real business.
Yeah.
Why? They don't teach you how taxes work in high school. Why? Because if you graduate high school and you don't go on to college to learn those things, then they've got a whole workforce of ignoramuses who are just ready to go out there and just toil away and piss and moan without any freaking education or educating themselves in any way whatsoever. I had no idea when I went through high school that I was so uneducated. When I went to the freaking Army, when I was in the Ranger Battalion, they called me, I worked at a place called the Rock Yard. And people found this out when I was in the Ranger Battalion. And they were like, that doesn't surprise us because you're a fucking rock, dude. Rock. I would ask a billion questions, and I didn't understand a lot of crap. And I was called simple the whole time. And then I was like, okay, I got to educate myself. I got to freaking I got to be the guy that, like, goes out and gets some books and starts reading and starts learning some shit. Because the reality is because I was just a simple punk kid who didn't know anything other than what my homies had already told me.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I wasn't educated. I hadn't read Gore Vidal. I hadn't read anything by Jefferson outside of the Declaration of Independence or maybe even the preamble to the Constitution.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I hadn't read anything. I was so unworldly at the time that, like, it really showed in my opinions and attitudes.
Right.
And I think that you see a lot of that now. You see freaking 17, 18, 19-year-old kids think they know everything in the world because they can freaking TikTok or Snapchat or freaking Instagram that shit, but they've never been anywhere.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's like Goodwill Hunting. You know what I mean? I've been in Notre Dame. And you know what I thought the coolest thing about Notre Dame was? The divots where people's feet had been for centuries underneath the pews. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like that's stuff that you wouldn't notice unless you fucking been there. You know, it's the little things. And for the majority, our young people, they don't understand those little things. They don't understand the nuances of life. They just fucking believe whatever Cardi B told them on fucking OnlyFans. You know,
right. Well, why go there and why do it if I can experience it vicariously through my fucking screen? That's a lot of thought process. And I don't know, there's it seems to be coming like you just said, I'm tripping over my words here, but like you were Rangers and a lot younger when you realized I don't know shit. Like I've got to, if I want to know something, but you had that realization, right? If I've got to do something about this. And I don't feel like people hit that now if they do at all until they're much older to realize, oh my God, I don't know anything.
Leadership, mentorship.
Yeah.
I had the right leaders. I had guys when I was in the Ranger Battalion, and I don't know if I should name them by name, but like guys that I looked up to. Yeah. You know what I mean? Guys who were like, oh my God, have you read this? Have you read that? You know what I mean? My platoon sergeant, when I was in the Ranger Battalion, was one of the most intelligent guys I've ever met. He's my son's godfather. Like, you know, not officially, we didn't get a baptism or anything, but like in name, he's my son's godfather. And one of the most intelligent guys I've ever met in my entire life. Logic, reason, music, military education. You know what I mean? He was like, if you're going to be a professional at something, know what you're a professional at. Yep. Know the business of what you're doing. You know what I mean? Like, and like really emphasize, you know, those kinds of things. And I think that when I started thinking, I think when I became a pararescueman, I started thinking about maybe going into the CIA. Mm-hmm. You know, and I was like, maybe the CIA is a thing. And then I saw that they wanted people with degrees in international relations. And then I was like, okay, you know, I'm going to go to AMU online, you know, do some online school. And then I started studying international conflict. And then I was like, maybe this isn't something. Yeah, like, because you start to realize that, like, all military, all of these things are tools used to enforce foreign policy. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then, like, if you disagree with the foreign policy, F you, you know, it's just, you got to deal with it.
Yeah.
So again, it was a situation where I was like, I want to be in charge. I want to decide, you know, like, where I go and what I do and what I fight for. So,
yeah.
I don't know.
Is that kind of, I'm not trying to pull away from this, but you kind of are in that position now, right? Like Monkey Fist Films is your company, correct? Like because you're producer, writer, like the laundry list of shit that's on your.
Oh yeah.
Well, yeah, because it's me and my wife, we're the only people who are affiliated with Monkey Fist Films, and then our homie Tony Bartolini, who came out and filmed with us last year. You know what I mean? As a co-producer and a producing partner. So, you know, it's really small. Like, we produced a documentary about my wife's family business this year. It's an hour long and all in-house. Like, last year we filmed it. We paid for it. We paid Tony to come out and do it. My wife ran production on the ground. And then we kind of ran into some hiccups with editing and creatively. It turned into one of those things where it's like, just like, we want to be in charge.
Yeah.
You know, so I had to learn how to edit, and I had to, you know, do all that stuff. But, you know, everything's an evolution.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So finding the time to do what we wanted to do, our own projects, including my own documentary about veteran transition, we didn't have the time, man. There was just not enough time in the day to do that. So I think Monkey Fist Films, like, it kind of became that next step for us. And when you talk about a monkey fist, it sounds pornographic. I know. It's like, you know, people are like, monkey fist. Oh my God, how much lubricant do you need for that?
not as much as you think.
Like, well, it depends. You're going to need some additional lubricant. You know, some other lube, maybe some Vaseline, maybe D40. We'll see where it goes. But no. But a monkey fist is a knot that's used as an anchor, you know, at the end of a rope. And you being Coast Guard, you know. You know what a monkey fist is. It's a pliable anchor. And in rock climbing, you can use it to wedge into a crack. Mm-hmm. Well, for me, I felt like I kind of wedged myself into this industry in a really strange way. And I've got to be kind of flexible enough to stay in that crack and still, like, get somewhere. You know what I mean? So, like, it's just kind of an anchor point, you know, this Monkey Fist Films. And I just like saying it too. Monkey Fist. It sounds amazing. Plus, it's you know, MFF, which is also military free fall. So I just like it all the way around. It has a good vibe for me.
Yeah, it's cool. Yeah,
monkeys are fun. Like, I wish I could have one.
Oh, my wife will not let me. I ask at least once a month if I could get a fucking monkey, dude.
Yeah, but I wouldn't want, like, one of those little shit throwing monkeys. I'd want, like, an orangutan, like left to right, like that, like every which way but loose, you know.
You're in California. You can get away with that, man. We can't do that shit here.
No.
We can tigers we can do here.
No, those monkeys that go off, just lose their shit on people and just turn their faces into potatoes or something. I mean, it's there was a big thing. There was a woman who raised chimpanzees, and then one of the chimpanzees got older, got dementia, and then attacked her and, like, ripped her face off. Like, those guys are. They're for real.
We had a friend of my parents, or their friends growing up. Their monkeys, they had a monkey that burned their house down and died in a blaze. It's little capuchin monkey. It's a capuchin, however you say it. Anyway,
I got Flash. We got Flash. That's this monkey in there right now.
Yeah, this monkey would jerk off in front of kids. But anyway, they went out of town. And it was wintertime, and they had left a little heater by its cage, and they were just gone for like a few hours. And he took wood chippings and was throwing it in the fucking heater, and caught them on fire and burned their fucking house down, man.
Jesus.
No shit.
Nuts.
Oh God.
But my youngest is 10, and so I've finally gotten him to watching different stuff on History Channel, Forge of Fire, and all that stuff. And when he first watched it gets better than watching cartoons all the fucking time. So I'm stoked about that. And he was like, "Dad, is he a veteran?" I was like, "Yeah." He's like, "You're a veteran too, right?" And I'll see. He goes, "How come you don't have muscles like that?" And I was like, "Well, shit, kid, I don't know."
I didn't have muscles like that either for a long time.
Yeah, and I told him, because he knows I have a podcast. He doesn't listen to it, obviously, because I'd be a worse father than I actually am, or doesn't know the name of it. I just told him that we were talking to you guys tonight, and he was like, "Ask him if you can have some of his muscles." I was like, "No, dude, no, I am not going to ask that."
Sure.
Yeah, but he's at age, he's 10. He wants to be jacked, and
So I don't know how much Forged in Fire you can talk. Can you talk?
I mean, like, look, it depends on the question, really.
Sure. I just, I don't want to ask a question that you have to turn down. So that's what I'm saying. I mean, like,
why? You used to getting turned down.
Oh, sure. Yeah, I've been married long enough. I am used to it. No, I'm saying, so can you, I mean, I guess give us a little insight on to what the set is like on a competition show like that. Cause my wife gets into those kinds of shows. Yeah. What is that? Filming a competition like that, like what is that like as far as the competition goes? I mean,
okay, I'll be honest with you. Okay, so as the host of the show, my day starts at the hotel, obviously, like just getting ready. You know what I mean? And for me, I don't wear makeup. I don't, I was like, I don't want to like somebody in my face like that. I don't like being touched by strangers. You know what I mean? It weirds me out. I got a thing. Like I got to think, especially if I see that stranger use the same shit on somebody else's face and then, who's all hot, sweaty, and fucking gross, and then try to rub it on me. Like, you're not touching me ever. You know what I mean? And I got like a thing with people, you know what I mean? So I cut my own hair and I don't wear makeup. And for the most part, from the waist down, it was my own wardrobe for the most part. I think in the later seasons, they started trying to make me wear purple tight pants. And I was like,
there were some tight pants in some of those episodes, my friend.
There were some very tight pants. And I'll tell you that any episode where you can see the frenulum of my penis, I didn't pick those pants probably.
There are some Reddit threads dedicated to those, by the way. I actually got some comments from some that I stumbled across.
Yeah. So anyway, and then we drive into work in a van, and it was typically David Baker would already be at the studio because he made all the fucking prop weapons, like all those little display weapons and shit like that. Dave Baker made all those. Yeah. So he would already be at the studio kind of working on his own. And so it would be me and whatever Bladesmith was, on the podium that day with me or with us, and we drive to work. And then, typically it was like, hey, how's the wife? She's still pregnant. It's the typical day-to-day stuff. And then you get to work and, or it's, it could be carryover conversation from anything else the night before. I mean, whatever. You get to work, you go straight into a trailer. Okay. And this trailer is about that wide.
Okay.
Yeah, about elbow to fingertip wide. Little couch that you can't even, like, it's about 2.5, maybe 3 feet wide. Okay, 3 feet wide. And like you turn around, there's a little slider there where I could like slide open the thing and I could see into Doug Markaitis' little freaking cell. And then there's the toilet, and it was like a toilet where you could like close the thing and you could take a dump but flush it and it just drops into the freaking, it's like a portable, I think there were 5 rooms attached to it. And then at the end of this thing, this vat of shit is the toilet for the entire crew. Right. So the majority of my time at Forged in Fire was spent sitting inside of this vat of shit, right? Right? And I think I might have even fucking Instagrammed it or texted a few times. Like, it would be leaking. There's just straight like refuse like coming down the whatever. I mean, so like the smell was outrageous, So and I swear to God, it was probably 4 feet by 6 feet total in length. You know what I'm saying? Like, it was not a big space. And then, inside of there, I got like what did I have in there? I didn't have anything, not compared to Doug. Doug had like old moldy freaking heads,
right?
Like the gelatin heads. He would keep those. It was the strangest thing in the world, right? And so I would, inside of there, I would do whatever I do. I would write. I would correspond with people. I'd make phone calls. I'd fucking fight with the IRS. Whatever I had to do. You know what I mean? And then you just wait there, and then somebody comes. Usually you have like 2 shirts hanging up. These are your choices of shirts for the day. Wear whatever matches your pants. Okay. Put on my shirt, roll up my sleeves, and then I mic'd myself because, again, I'm just not the kind of guy that likes somebody's hands in my face, especially if they smell like your ass.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You wiped your ass. You didn't wash your hands. You came and you tried to mic me up, and now your fingers smell like shit one time, and that's it. Like, you're out. You're not micing me anymore.
Right.
But I'm not saying that happened. But I'm saying that, like, that's not what happened. So I would mic myself, and I would go to set, and then, you know, you do your once overs or whatever, and then you start doing your run throughs. You know, I mean, you kind of. And it take anywhere from 3 to 5 days to film an episode.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, it's the slowest process in the world. It's the slowest, most boring process in the world. Because here's the thing. While I'm doing all that waiting around and fucking complaining, you know what I mean, about being bored and making weapons in my fucking trailer that nobody wants me to fucking make, and you know, dangerous one, but I'm actually the only one that's fucking trained with like weapons extensively, other than Baby Doug. Okay, but like the whole time that I'm freaking doing this, you know, there's a crew that's on set, setting up shots, getting lighting right, getting all the anvils where they need to go, making sure that the shelves are stocked. You know, they're freaking herding the Smiths from interview to interview. You know, she's making sure, you know, these people are like making sure that all of these pieces that make Forged in Fire what it is come together into this show that everybody loves so much, right? You know what I mean? And it's like 250 hours.
Wow.
Footage.
Yeah.
Now throw in the setup, the cameras, the freaking all the work that goes into that. It's a huge production.
Yeah.
Okay. It's a huge production. It's massive, and there's a lot of stuff going on. So the last thing anybody wants to hear is that I don't like the fucking shoes you're making me wear today.
Yeah. Right.
You know what I mean? Like, people are like, are you fucking kidding me? I'm chasing rats out of Crafty. You know?
Yeah.
Shoes are a problem? Like, give me a break. So
that's awesome. Well, it's funny though, because you know, and actually that was, as long as you mentioned, I was going to ask, because one thing I will say compared to a lot of other any type of reality based competition shows, what the fuck ever, they were always pretty kind in the editing of the Smiths in their interviews and how they were portrayed. Nobody really just came across as a giant fucking cock. You know what I mean? Just being,
I will tell you right now, from day one, when I was the host of the show, I said, I want to be able to talk to the Smiths.
Right.
I want to be able to talk to them. I'm not a judge. I don't freaking decide who wins.
Right.
You know what I mean? So like you don't have to worry about any kind of crossing the line when it comes to favoritism or violating, you know, contracts and, you know, that kind of shit when it comes to me. You know what I mean? Because I'm cheering for everybody.
Right.
You know what I mean? I want them all to fucking be badasses. I want them all to be Neil Kamimura.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I want them all to excel. Yeah. But at the end of the day, only one can be the Forged in Fire champion. So I would talk to these guys before they went out there, before they did anything. Maybe they would do their first interviews, but I talked to them before they ever came out. And the first thing I said is fucking relax. Like, we're all just dudes, you know what I mean? Like, we're all just a bunch of freaking dudes who fuck things up all the time and who have succeeded and failed. You know, it's not a big deal. We're all just guys. But you are here to film a TV show called Forged in Fire, and it's a television production. Right. There's going to be a lot of waiting around. There's going to be a lot of freaking just like, go here, do this one time. There's going to be takes. There's going to be retakes. And I ask you to be fucking patient with all that shit.
Yeah.
Just be patient with it because it is a television show.
Right.
Now, when you're there and the clock starts, get your freaking hate on. Get it on, man, because like that's real. That's when the reality starts.
Yeah.
Is when that clock starts. That's real.
So that's what I was going to.
All the stuff that I say before that might be take 2. It might be take 10. I don't know, man. Maybe I had a good day. Maybe I didn't. I always had a good day.
Yeah, right. Of course.
But you know, I mean, while the clock was going, that's the real stuff. You know what I mean? The judging after the fact, all of that stuff, that's who cares? Who cares? The freaking story was all about the forging, the making of the weapon. Yeah. I don't care about how it tested or anything like that. It's about how the dudes performed and persevered and presented themselves. And I said, look, you're all business guys. You're all guys that want to freaking build your knife making business. So my recommendation to you is to be a good competitor, be the best version of yourself, the kind of person that somebody like me might like to buy a fucking knife from.
Right.
Yeah.
When that evidently went a long way, because like I said, my wife and I were talking about that, is nobody really, I mean, there's some people that are obviously weird as shit and some that are more cocky than other, because bladesmiths in general, the few that I've known, they're kind of like people from Alaska. They're a little fucking different than everybody else.
Yeah.
But but nobody just, I don't know, nobody was just a complete asshole, like, oh, fuck that guy, he's a piece of shit. You never really got that. They didn't,
dude. I'll tell you I'll tell you straight up, man. There was a Russian dude that I didn't care for at all, and that's because he treated the crew like crap behind scenes. You know what I mean? Like off camera, he's like kicking stuff around and jumping on camera equipment and stuff like that. I'll be the first to tell you, like, that ain't okay.
No.
There was the guy that like started throwing chairs in an interview after he got eliminated. Me and Doug went in there, and I was like, that shit's gonna stop right now. It ain't gonna fucking happen. Yeah, I'm not having it. Like, that's not the kind of program that I want to be a part of. We're here to inspire people.
Right.
Succeed or fail, agree or disagree. We're here to inspire people to do something that maybe they've never done before. Right. You know what I mean?
And you guys have been successful in that regard.
An ancient craft it's made a comeback. Let's face it, it's made a huge comeback for you.
Oh, dude, my dad, who can barely swing a fucking hammer to put a picture in the wall, after he watched, like, got into it, he bought the same anvil they used on the show. He bought all, like, so much money. And I was like, well, I have a good inheritance at some point. You know?
Yeah, I hope he's using it all, man. Because like, look, here's the thing, is that, like, while those cameras are rolling, while the guys are hammering away and doing their thing, that's the part that I love. I mean, that's the real story right there. Like anything else, like the judges, all that crap, who fucking cares, man? Those guys they're the weekly staple. The story is in the guys that are fucking making the weapons.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, the story is in the Neil Cameras, the those guys that come on and really just hang it up. Like, it's like watching American Idol when somebody goes on and they've never sung in front of a crowd in their entire life, and their knees are shaking and their fucking hands shaking, and they don't know how they're gonna do. And then they freaking blow it out of the water. That first audition. That's it. That's all I care about. I'm not gonna watch anything else after that.
Yeah.
I just want to see that. I just want to see that one freaking person rise to the occasion when the odds are so overwhelming that there's no way that they could succeed except by believing in their heart of hearts in themselves.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Even when everybody's pointing a finger and saying, you can't do it, I want to see that person say, fuck you. I'm
gonna do it. Yeah.
That's what I want to see.
Well, the show was really good for that. And it was actually a really, I don't even know how to put it nicely, but it was a really cool, nice move when they brought like Ben Abbott on as a guest, because he'd won twice, fan favorite. So it was really it was a very inspirational move to bring him on as a judge, in my opinion. Like, watching that story and following the show, it's like, oh shit, he came on as a bladesmith. He'd won this twice. Now look where he is, type of thing. Like, it did a lot of good for inspiring, like you said, that journey of people that are wanting to get into that industry. However you want to cut that, but it looked really. It fit into the story. Does that make sense? How I'm trying to put that?
He does good work. It's clean.
Yeah. There you go. Yeah.
So, what's the guy's name?
Will. I hope we're best friends one day.
Yeah, I don't think that'll ever happen on my side of, like, I don't think.
No, you're barely my best friend, and we've known for 22 years. Yeah.
No. I just blanked out. Doug, that's his name. If I remember correctly. Yeah. He really seems to get into shoving those blades through the ballistic gel and the cutting through the pigs and things like that. I mean, is the feeling we see coming from him watching, is that kind of the same way it is on set?
He has a good time.
There we go.
All right.
So you were in Beerfest.
Yeah.
That's actually what's launched me on this trail, to tell you.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're an extra with the British. I didn't believe that shit, and I saw that. I was like, no fucking way. So I pulled out and watched it again. I was like, oh god damn it! There's Mr. Wil Willis in the background there.
I love telling this story. This is the funniest story of all time. because what had happened was, what had happened was a bunch of guys, me and some of the foreigners maybe that were working at the PJ school at the time, working on the paramedic side. I think Jeremy Miller was one of those guys. I don't know, but me and a few other guys, we went to an open casting call, for The Longest Yard.
Oh shit!
Sandler. Now I'm a big fan of Burt Reynolds. I think he's a badass.
Yeah.
They do. I think Burt Reynolds is a fucking dude. That guy's, except for Sharky's Machine, where he just beat the shit out of his female love interest the whole time.
It's a film of its time.
But I really like Burt Reynolds as an actor, and I like the idea of like remaking The Longest Yard, especially with Adam Sandler, because I'm a fan, right? So they filmed it in New Mexico. And I was at the Pararescue school. We were going to lunch, and then a radio ad came on that if you drop by this certain location, maybe you could be, an extra cast in The Longest Yard. And I wasn't interested, but I was a movie fan, and everybody knew it. And I was also prone to doing movie quotes, A Few Good Men, Braveheart, Platoon. I was the guy. Like, if you needed to be entertained when there was no TV, I could make it happen. I could play all the roles, right? So a bunch of guys were like, "Hey, let's go down there and do it. Let's go to this open casting call." So we went to Subway. We got our little Subway sandwiches. Mine was a meatball marinara.
Yes.
Right. And we go to this open casting call. We're standing in line with a bunch of jamokes. We're the only military guys in line. Like, we're fucking literally in uniform. I'm like, I don't know if we're supposed to be here. Like, I don't know if this is okay. I'm on my lunch. I guess I could do whatever. But they pull us into this room, and they took a Polaroid picture of me standing next to this other guy I didn't know. And I got my Subway sandwich in my hand. And you had to fill out a card. And, you put all your vital information, height, weight, name, whatever. And then under special skills, I'll never forget this, because it says special skills. And I was so cocky back then. I said, I'd jump out of planes to save the motherfucking day. That's what So they took a picture of us, you know what I mean? And then that was it. We just left. Well, about a week later, I got a phone call from a woman who was like, "Hey, we want to cast you in this movie. We want to bring you up and to the old Santa Fe prison on X date, and we want to talk to you, or whatever." So I drove up there. I got there early. I got there way ahead, like totally military early.
Yeah.
Very excited about this thing. I took like a day of leave to go do this. So I drove up there, and I'm at this prison, and they bring in all these people, and they're casting stuff, and they wanted me to be an extra or a stand-in for Mike Papajohn, who was one of the actors in the movie. And then they're like, "You got to be available for like 6 weeks." I'm like, "I'm not doing it. Like, I can't take 6 weeks off from the military. It's not going to happen." So I just left. I didn't think anything about it. And then I got a call about a year later from somebody, and I just happened to have like a comp day off. And I was at home with my son. Well, he was about 2 at the time, but I was at home with my kid, and they called me up. They're like, "We want you to come do this movie with Kevin Kline, And I was like, "Oh shit!" And they're like, "Can you be here today?" And I'm like, "Do I got to audition? Like, there's nothing. I just do this." I'm like, "Yeah, drive up." So I drove up. My buddy dropped my kid off at daycare. I went and I got dressed up like a crackhead, and it was a movie called Trade, Welcome to America. And then the role that they wanted me to do was like passing kids off to like grown men in like some kind of sex crime thing. And it really grossed me out. I was like, "I want to do this." and they were like, "Well, it's the last day of shooting, whatever, we really appreciate you coming down and we'll throw something else your way." And I was like, "Whatever, I don't care." Well, then they hit me up like a week later. I didn't think that they would actually call me. She hit me up like a week later, and she said, "We're filming this movie from the guys that did Super Troopers, and it's called Beerfest. You want to check it out? We want you to be on the British drinking team." And I said, "Yeah, man, hell yeah!" 2 weeks of leave. I took like 2 weeks of leave, and my marriage at the time was off and on the rocks or whatever. I think it was actually borrowing a buddy's motorcycle at the time. And I was living half time, like on another guy's couch. And, I just was having a rough personal go of things. And as well as like, is this what I'm going to do for the rest of my life? This because I was an instructor at the PJ school and I hated it. I didn't hate it. I liked the passing of information, but I just hated like the idea that I was never going to be able to deploy, while I was there. And a 3-year controlled tour somehow turned into 5. So anyway, I started doing this thing. I started driving up there for this Beerfest thing, and it was just a big extras thing, like so many extras. You had the Eskimos breakdancing in the extras tent, which was fucking awesome, by the way. You had all of these different teams were just all these different local people from New Mexico. You know what I mean? And I kind of met them all. And then the other guy who was a non-speaking role on the British drinking team happened to be a dude who was in the NFL.
Oh, shit.
His name was John Dornbos.
Yeah.
Right. And at the time he was playing, I believe, for the Tennessee Titans. Right. And he decided he's telling me he was in the NFL, and I was looking at him like he was telling me he was a fucking former Army Ranger or a pararescue. Liar. You're a liar. Bullshit, I don't believe you. You know what I mean? It's just something like you're in New Mexico doing this shit and you're in the fucking NFL. Like I'm in the military on leave. You know what I mean? Like that's So it turns out he wasn't full of shit. And he was really one of the most energetic and probably inspirational dudes I've ever met in my entire life. And then something happened to one of the guys that had a speaking role. He got hit in the face with a beer mug and he was bleeding. They had to take him to the hospital, but they were behind on time. And then the lady that cast me in the thing was like, "Hey, Will, can you throw on a British accent and maybe do this role?" Sure.
Okay.
So I actually
will find out.
One of the other actors, we ran through the lines. He was like, "You're great at this." I was like, "I've been acting like a fucking soldier my whole life." You know what I mean? I've been acting like bad guys are right over there. You know what I mean? I mean, that's what training is. Really act like this shit's real. It's over there. But act as if it's real, and then that's how you're gonna fucking do it. So we got all the way to the point where I thought I was actually going to film this shit. And then the guy came back. He had stitches in the eye. And if you look at it in the actual movie, you can see that the smaller of the two guys has like stitches in his eye. So I didn't get the role or whatever. But John was pretty impressed. Yeah. And he was like, "What are you going to do after the military?" And I said, "I don't know. You know what I mean? I don't know. I don't know what I'm going to do." And he's like, "Well, maybe you should think about doing something like this because I think you could be pretty good at it."
Nice.
So then I started going to command directed anger management. At some point while I was in the Air Force, I was really unhappy with like just being at the pararescue school. Like I wanted to be out there, you know what I mean? I really felt like I had made a bad decision by going there. Am I taking over your podcast?
No, this is great.
Yeah.
So anyway, I started going to command directed anger management, and then somehow that led me to like expressing my feelings in an acting class. And then that led to my homies making fun of me. You know what I mean? And then finally, Ray Colon Lopez, who's now at the White House, by the way, is the senior enlisted advisor to the fucking Air Force or something.
Oh shit.
Wow.
Yeah, Ray Colon Lopez forwarded me an email, and I know it's supposed to be sarcastic and shit. And the email said, "Looks like it's right up your alley, Hollywood."
Oh shit.
And attached to this email was basically a letter from a production company out in Burbank, California, looking for a former pararescueman or retired pararescueman to host a show called True Stories of Pararescue. I was like, well, I'm a fucking former pararescueman. I was getting out of the military at the time. That's why Ray forwarded me that as a possible job opportunity. Right. And I was like, fuck it. You know, I mean, you're going to fuck around. Let's play fuck around. So I answered the email. Mm-hmm. And then at the time, my commander, because I was up very short and final, I think I had less than a month left in. And he was very cool. He's like, you know, you need a job. You've got 14 years in the military, whatever it is, and change. He was like, you need a job. And so I flew out to Burbank and I did like an interview, and it turned into Spec Ops mission eventually.
Nice.
I mean, I was driving a cab and a lot of shit in between that.
Yeah, for sure.
Like there was a year and a half where I was like telling people that I was going to be in a TV show, and they were like, whatever, pal.
Well, you had to check off the quintessential new to Hollywood boxes, right? I mean, you had to do it.
The thing is that I got in from New Mexico, you know what I mean?
Right.
And I submitted my own reel, you know, I filmed like a parachute jump. It was all personal initiative.
Right.
Really. It was all just me taking the initiative. Like if an opportunity came up, I just said, yeah, man, I'll try it. I'll do that. Yeah. Why not? Let's give it a shot. You know, and then later on, I learned how to say, no, I don't like the way that contract's written. No.
I don't like that fucking release, dude. Fuck you.
I'm not signing that, pal.
Hey, you can blame his sister for that shit, dude.
Whatever, man. Here's the thing. With stuff like that, I just send it to my lawyer.
Yeah.
Because I'm
Sure.
not a lawyer. I don't know
Sure.
anything about that shit. I just send it to somebody who does know about that shit. Because that's what I learned in the military. Delegate.
Yep.
If you don't know, there's somebody that does know. I'm not a forward observer, but I know one.
Yeah.
There it is.
Yeah.
Oh no, it's fine. I got the email back from me. I was like, oh fuck, I hope I didn't piss him off. Jesus Christ. Let me
No, I've never been the guy to mince words. You know what I mean?
and I told you earlier, I'm fucking grateful for that.
Yes.
Because we're a bunch of dumbasses. We both work day jobs and we just do this as an excuse to hang out and drink together every now and then.
Right.
So
And hey, man, what a great way to spend your time. I mean, excuse me. Sorry.
that's good. So yeah, do you have something before I was? Oh yeah, go ahead.
Well, I was gonna say, I mean, Troy. So this is well,
I can already answer this question.
Can you?
Yeah, because I was going to ask him about some Instagram stuff.
Okay.
So,
well, then go ahead.
If that's all right, do you need to go, sir? We don't want to be keeping your
Sure.
evening down.
Oh, dude, I'm chilling.
Okay. So, well, let me ask you this then. So we usually about this time we take a quick break, just so everybody can take a piss, whatever they want to do. Do you want to come back with us, or do you want to bounce off like 5-10 minutes?
Yeah, whatever you want to do. I can come back. Babe, yes? Can I play with these guys some more?
You can do whatever you want to do.
I gotta have something, man. Flash, okay?
I understand.
Yeah. Is it okay if maybe you hear Flash and Crystal in the background?
100%
It
okay.
doesn't bother us.
All right, cool,
So
man.
what we usually do is I'll stop the Instagram one. We'll leave this stream going, but we'll mute everything, and then we'll reconvene like 5-10 minutes. That's cool.
Well, we'll also make it so that no one can hear anything or see anything going on in your house during the break as well.
There's
So,
nothing going on in my house. I don't
well, I
care.
understand that. It's just some people like to know that. So,
All right. We'll be back in just a few minutes.
Yeah, babe.
Okay. He's just getting antsy.
Hey, everybody. We'd like to take a minute to tell you about a really cool podcasting app called Stitcher Premium.
yeah, Stitcher Premium is, like you said, a free app, and they've got everything you could look for: true crime, comedy, pop culture, The Office ladies. I think Conan O'Brien's podcast is on there. There's lots of things on there.
And archives of all those things.
Oh, yeah. And smart lists.
Yeah, the smart list. That's what I was about to say, you fuck. Smart lists basically will watch what you're listening to, or listen to what you're listening to,
Right.
use some fancy algorithms, and make recommendations on shit that you already like.
Yeah, so if you go to Stitcher.com/premium and use the code B3F, you can get a month free. So it's $4.99 a month, or $34.99 if you pay for a full year. But use the code B3F and you'll get a free month.
Check it out. And we're back with I got to hit start on the Instagram. So you do your thing, buddy.
All right, so we're back here with Mr. Wil Willis. He's got his son there with him.
What's up? Say hi, Flash.
Flash. That's an awesome name.
Say hi, Flash.
Hey, hi.
Hey, buddy. He's featured a good bit on the old Instagram stories you got going on. You guys take a lot of walks. It's cool.
Yeah, man. He's my dude. He's a good one, man. He's a good egg. Mama cooked up a good little meatloaf right here. All right.
That's cool. They're not bothering us at all, man. I just, I feel obligated to watch the language heavily with around the kids.
Oh no, like I don't believe it. I always told my sons, and I still say it today. There's no such thing as a bad word, just words that you probably shouldn't use.
Right. That's
You know what I mean? Like I'm a fan of language. I'm a fan of communication. There's no such thing as a bad word.
right.
Every word has its appropriate place and time.
Absolutely.
But there's probably words that you shouldn't use.
Right.
Think about that.
Yeah.
Right.
And that's how I've talked to my oldest, after about 16, it's like, okay, we're lifting the restrictions. It's just, you're on your grandparents, you know, your audience, right? There's certain words you don't say around certain people just out of respect, out of, where they're from. It's like you said, there's words you can say, that doesn't mean you shouldn't in the situation.
Yeah, I never told them that they couldn't say a word. I'd be like,
Right.
but think about the repercussions for using the kind of language that you use. You know what I mean? Like there's gonna be a repercussion if you tell me "F you, Dad." Be ready. Like, if you got the balls to lay it out there, let's see how big your nuts are.
Right. I think my dad, dude, I got a spanking. The last actually ass whooping I got, I was 17 years old.
Yeah.
And I had done something I shouldn't have done. And my dad was like, all right, I'm gonna spanking. I was like, and I knew better than be disrespectful, but I was like, Dad, I'm 17. How can you're not gonna spank me. He's like, tell you what, you can take a whooping or I'm going to beat you like a man. It's your choice. And I was like, well, shit, I don't want the latter. So
I had both. I headbutted my sister one time and gave her a big goose egg when I was in my teens. And my dad decided to try to break my sternum with his fist or try to. But we got beat with like boat oars and belts and cords and like whatever was just laying around readily available. Like my stepmother had this thing with her fingernails where she would like, I don't know what the hell this was all about, this fucking harpy, but she would like drive them down into the top of your head. You know what I mean? Like what the hell? Or grab your hair and spin you around in a circle.
Yeah.
Shit.
Like our freaking childhood was about survival and teamwork. Like
right.
The sisters and fuck those motherfuckers. That's a terrible thing to say.
So once my kids hit 16 years old, well, I didn't do this with the first one, but once the youngest two, we kind of learned a little bit. When they hit 16, it was like, okay, you can say anything you want to your siblings. You can use any word you want. So like if my son said something one time, my daughter said, "Why are you being a little bitch?" And it's like, that's fine. Siblings are gonna do shit like that. So it's like, I don't care, whatever. But I just like, fine, you can say certain words, you can say anything like that to your siblings, but you need to know your audience. So when we're around your grandparents, don't talk like that.
Yeah,
let's not do that.
Well, we also grew up in a very like conservative Christian
sure.
Southern background. So like all of our parents, grandparents they're very still conservative church going folks. And so it's kind of like, it's respectful to them to watch your language because they come from a very different train of thought. And it's just being respectful of your elders in that case.
Well, I think that my parents, for the most part, were pretty good about censoring themselves around us. I was never good at that. I was Wil fucking Willis, and that word was part of my vernacular. It's the most versatile word in the human language, as far as I'm
I agree.
And so, but to hear my dad say that word, even to this day, it makes me almost want to laugh because it seems so uncomfortable coming out of
me. I didn't hear my dad say fuck until I was in my mid-20s, and I was like, what?
My dad still says it almost under his breath.
Yeah.
Like there's 5 kids still around to hear him say it.
Yeah. I was in my mid-30s and my dad decided to talk about his sex life with my mom. And I was like, I'm in my 30s, man. I still don't want to hear this.
Right.
Like, I really don't.
You need to have when you're 16.
Right.
And I had that conversation with my kids when they were around 13, 14, 15, 16, the whole conversation about what sex is really like on the flip side. Like, what are the repercussions of sex?
Yeah.
Like,
by the way, your mom is awesome type of thing,
trying to figure that out, you know what I'm saying? You know what I mean? But like, what are the repercussions really?
Yeah.
Neither one of them have kids yet, so I think I did a pretty good job.
Yeah. Well, I'm like my 2 little kids, I actually got back from getting them today. They live with my ex-wife, their mom in North Carolina, and I drive up and get them whenever I can. I have them for the Christmas week. But their mom is very, very weird about talking to them about that stuff. And I'm of the opinion, if you're old enough to ask, you're old enough to get information, like at least, an element of it. And yeah, so like she gets really weird about having any type of sex conversation with the kids. And I said, there's some of it's age appropriate, but if they're old enough to ask, they're old enough to know. Like,
well, there's a right way to explain it for the age group that you're dealing with.
Absolutely.
Like, and you're right. If they're old enough to ask, they're old enough to get some sort of answer that isn't a complete lie.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, that was always my whole thing. Like, I'm not going to lie to the dude. You know, I can sugarcoat it a little bit.
Right.
But sugar isn't really my flavor either. You know what I mean? I'm more like salt in the wound.
For sure. Yeah, so it's that's a very weird battle to fight, because I had to talk to my daughter, and like my house now, I'm on my third round because I'm really good at relationships, but we're very much into openness. Like, you can talk about what the fuck ever. Like, it's like, whether it's my oldest, he's 17, like I said, I had to talk to him about jerking off when he was like fucking 10 and 11, and I was like, you need to know. And so it's never been a taboo thing to talk about that shit, because it's like, you can't be embarrassed. This is what fucking people do, man. And it's been weird with the youngest kids because right. Yeah, exactly.
Keep doing it even when the door's open.
Right. And it's just, but it's that shit that it shouldn't be taboo. It's like normalizing shit that with the little kids now, like I had to talk with my daughter about her period. And she's not quite there, but she's having some shit coming up, and I was like, so her mom hadn't talked to her about it. She didn't have any idea what this shit was. And then her mom got super fucking pissed at me. And I'm like, somebody has to talk to her about this shit. And I don't want her to be embarrassed if some shit happens at school and she needs to talk to me, and there are lines, and I get that, but there's some element of openness that, it's not dirty. You're not a bad person. This shit, it's part of being a teenager.
I think that the human beings have, I think that, there's one side of us that embraces our humanity,
Mm-hmm.
you know what I mean? But then there's another side that I think of people that doesn't really, that don't really like, the humanity, the diversity. Every single one of us is different from the next. You know what I mean? And that creates a diversity that should be celebrated. You know what I mean? Like, I would hate it if I was completely identical to somebody else. Even identical twins aren't identical, in personality. You know what I mean? Even in looks, because that's the only gift that you have is your individuality.
Right.
That's the only gift that the world gives you. That's just like, hey, this is for free. You get to be you.
Yeah.
Whatever you choose to be, that's up to you. And like the idea that you can't accept that, the gift of individuality from every other freaking person around you, but embrace your own individuality, is hypocrisy in the worst kind of way.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, here's the thing. I'm not black, but I totally respect somebody else, that's part of somebody else's, culture, part of who they are, is that they're black or white or Mexican. My wife is, she's Arab. You know what I mean? Like, I love that there's that kind of diversity in the world. I love that there's differences of opinion. You want to know why? Because that's what gives the world flavor, man.
Yep.
Who wants to be in some kind of wrinkle in time sort of world where everything is just the same from house to house to house, place to place to place? You know what I mean?
Like, well, the irony of that to me, though, is that is very true on a minute scale, but at the same time, fucking people are people. Like, there's character traits that humanity has that we express across cultures, across race, across everything, that is those similarities that they also have to be celebrated. You know what I mean? To be accepted the way things are. Like,
you gotta celebrate the similarities, but you also have to celebrate the differences. The thing that keeps us divided is fear.
Sure. Absolutely.
Like, I don't know.
They both have their own very particular place in that equation. It's my point.
All right.
What? No, come on, man.
No, so we talked about this recently. Is like, it seems like younger people, and I know my oldest, it seems like they more so than the other two is like they live in this. Well, you said diversity is the key to things working out and to figuring things out. Like, but the younger people nowadays, not all, but in general, at least in my experience of dealing with younger people in their early to mid 20s, they've set themselves up to live in this echo chamber of only hearing things that they believe and agree in. And I don't see how 20, 30 years from now, this world can really be in a better place if they've only ever lived in this echo chamber of things that they agree with. So,
well, here's the thing: is that you have it. Technology has outpaced the everyday individual's understanding of what's happening. We don't understand the algorithms anymore. You know what I mean? Like if you like something on Facebook, something else, or on Instagram or TikTok or whatever, something else that's similar to that is going to pop up, and then all of a sudden you're getting ads for like things that you like. There's like algorithms built in that create certain bubbles. You know what I'm saying? The solution to that is to take your kid's phone and fucking smash it on the ground. Smash the thing. We didn't have phones. We didn't have phones. We didn't have computers. We had rocks and sticks and big wheels and bicycles. You know what I mean? Like when I say that it's our fault, like it's my generation's fault, it really is our fault, man. We did
I agree, yeah.
We did this to the world. We gave our kids everything. We gave them everything except for our debt. You know what I mean? Like we gave them everything, and then they were like, "That's bad. Our mom and dad are in a bad way. I'm not applying for any credit cards," which made whatever a whole different situation. Yeah, I'm not going to get into the whole economical thing, but what I'm saying is that like kids, I got bullied when I was a kid. I was a 93-pound freshman who got my ass kicked by a chick. You think I didn't get bullied? You think fucking Ruben Gomez didn't choke me out in the fucking quad one day? Bullying is part of everybody's life. But, when you go home and you tell your folks at the end of the day, like, I got bullied.
Sure.
How do your parents react? You know what I mean? My parents said, stand up to that bully. The next time that freaking something like that happens, you stand up to him and freaking you either take the beat down or you give a beat down or it ends in a draw. Whatever, you freaking make it happen. Now, here's the thing. I'm talking about like 1970s, 80s type of stuff. You know what I mean? Like where kids had restraint. We weren't out to hurt each other. You know what I mean? But nowadays, kids want to fucking inflict violence on each other for no reason whatsoever over bullshit. Over stuff that is like not even understandable. Like, why is that? Why is that happening? Why do they think that's okay? Yeah, they got a phone. They got a phone that tells them that's okay, and that's the world you live in, and that's the fucking bubble, and that's the kind of person that you have to be because of where you're from and your background and all that bullshit. Fuck that. You know what? You don't got to be a dickhead just because somebody else says you're supposed to be a dickhead. My kid's getting upset right now because I'm getting fired up. like here's the thing. Like, I don't think of myself as being somebody who grew up with privilege. You know what I mean? I grew up in a military family, sure. Like we did have a somewhat of a what do you want to call it? A sheltered life, but at the same time, I mean, we didn't have money. Yeah. You know what I mean? We didn't grow up with like advantage. There was certainly no privilege. You know what I mean? It wasn't earned. I started mowing lawns when I was 9 years old. The first guy that freaking hired me was a black dude. Yeah. You know what I mean? And it was for like I asked him for $3 a week to mow his lawn. He paid me $5. Mr. Gannis, he was the fucking best dude in the world. He was amazing. You know what I mean? So like to make this assumption that because of the color of your skin or anything like that, that this is how your life should be, or this is what you had, this is what was given to you. I know you're white, so you grew up with white fucking privilege. Kiss my fucking ass. Kiss my ass. That's bullshit. That's just as racist as anything else I've ever fucking heard. You know what I mean? Like, I'm a military man. The military was desegregated before the fucking 60s. You know what I mean? In 1986, the fucking Air Force desegregated. It was one of the first institutions to fucking recognize that every man is fucking worth his salt as long as he puts in the fucking work and effort. You know what I mean? That's the world that I grew up in. That's the world that I came from. So anytime that somebody throws out a fucking race card for any reason whatsoever, I want to knock their dick in the dirt and tell them they're a fucking piece of shit. It's not right. It's not fucking right, ever. Yeah. You know, you're a fucking American. And here in America, in this country, you have a fucking choice to make. You can fucking be successful or not successful. It's all about your fucking choices right now. You can be a piece of shit yesterday and be fucking awesome today. If you want to fucking be a cowboy, there's some guy out there in fucking Montana that no matter where you're from, if you're genuinely interested in it, he'll teach you how to do it for fucking free. Just for his own fucking personal entertainment, probably. You know,
right, yeah.
You be a fucking radio DJ, you can go and learn to fucking do that shit.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? This is America. No one's going to tell you fucking no, you can't do that. And if they do, they're ignorant.
Yeah.
For any reason, somebody's like, no, you can't do that. Well, fuck, dude. You know how many people told me, no, you're not ever gonna do fucking television. You're not gonna be a ranger. You're not gonna be a fucking pararescue man. You're not gonna do all this elite shit that you think you're gonna do. Fuck you, watch me.
Yeah.
Fuck you, watch me. Who's gonna stop me? You? No. I'm the only person that can quit.
Yep.
And that's what pisses me off. We got a fucking nation of fucking quitters out there.
Well, it's a victim mentality as well. I mean, what I was going to say is like there's a difference between being a victim and living with a victim mentality. I mean, it's just like there's a difference between being poor and living with a mentality of poverty. I mean, I'm a firm believer that if you want something bad enough, you'll figure out how to do it. And
well, it's not just figure out. Okay.
Sure.
Like, how am I supposed to figure it out? Well, you got the world, you got all the knowledge in the world at your fingertips. It's a matter of just filtering it. You know,
sure.
You got to be able to filter it. But here's the thing: if you really want it, you'll figure out a way. You know, you will figure out a way. The people that complain all day long, 24/7 about their status in life, that's their business. Their business is negativity and complaints. And when I talk about negative and positive, again, it's not that yoga bullshit like, oh, fucking positive thoughts all day. It's got to come from within, you know? And then if it fucking welleth over, by all means, spread that positivity, you know? But if it's not welling over, then keep it to yourself. You know what I mean? False motivation is what we called it, you know, back in the military when you're fucking getting smoked and everybody's like screaming for like that 5 seconds that you run past the barracks, you know what I mean? Hoping to tighten it up. You know, you're on a fucking run that has no end. You don't know when this torture is going to end, but you know, every time you run past the barracks, maybe they'll let you go to the fucking barracks. You know what I mean? But it's a big mind fuck is what it is. You know what I mean? Train your brain that like, you know, bad times are going to end when bad times are going to end. Good times, you need to take advantage of them and enjoy your freaking life. And then anything else, just work through it, man.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, Flash.
But it's actually a good quick segue, not to want to get super like in depth on anything specifically, but it's something that I mentioned to you a couple of times, but you've gotten fairly personal, and at least since I've been following on Instagram, which hasn't been that long. I didn't know you were on Instagram, but you know, you've been pretty open about some stuff over the last few months, you know, in a few different occasions, as far as really personally exposed. And that's something I think I told you is something I'm really appreciative of, because you don't see too many people coming from a place of platform that share a lot of that shit without some type of motivation behind it for more attention or whatever. I mean, in a genuine way. And I know that shit's probably helped a lot more people than you realize. It's something I'm appreciative for. Like, I was discharged, you know, medical, honorable, all that shit, but just under 9 years. And it's the shit I really struggled with up until a certain point. And I found that talking about that shit was as good for me as it was for other people, but I didn't realize how many people that in my small amount of influence that I had was helpful too. And it's something I've been appreciative of just watching you do, because I know a lot of people, whether it's your intent or not, it's helpful, man. And I just wanted to say thank you for that. Not to suck your dick about that shit.
No.
I'm appreciative of it.
I'm gonna be straight up. Like, I talked about suicide a little bit, and the idea that I'm suicidal, you know what I mean, or have been in my past suicidal. I have suicidal thoughts, man. I think it's normal. My sister, she doesn't think that it's normal at all. She's like,
I would agree with you.
about a guy that threw himself out of airplanes with a parachute that somebody else packed for most of his life. You know what I mean? To some degree, there's that little bit of an understanding that like things could go wrong and today could be the day.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like you got nothing to worry. But I like that because the reason that I like that is that because nothing mattered except for that jump, because everything could be over in this moment right now. You know what I mean? So for me, when I talk about suicide, I talk about it in a way that I think that I experienced suicidal thoughts, and I think that for me, it was more about like when it actually almost happened. My brother was right down the hallway.
Right.
Like, what would he have done?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, what would that have been like for him? What's the long-term impact for my brother, regardless of like what I thought of my parents at the time?
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, what was the long-term impact for my brother had I carried that out? Well, now he's a school teacher, man, and he's doing great things. But how would that have changed the course of his life if I had done that? How would that have changed the course of my other brothers and sisters' lives, my parents' lives even? Yeah. Would I have taught them a lesson?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, and when I was young, that's what it was all about. I'm unhappy and I needed somebody to understand that I was unhappy, and like nobody seemed to understand or even see what was going on in my world. I'm glad that things went the way that they did, because then it was kind of highlighted.
Right.
You know what I mean? And it was a cry for help. But at 16 or 15 years old, however fucking old I was when it happened, I know that's what that was.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I was just a kid jackassing around with a gun. You know?
And I guess I'm just more talking about just the willingness to be open and talk about that shit. I mean, even the stuff like, the story about fucking challenging Hoist Gracie was fucking fantastic, but just the openness, I know from experience, I guess, in my limited capacity, like you're helping way more fucking people than you realize, whether you know it or not. I know that's not the point. God damn it. Just take the compliment. I'm just saying I'm appreciative of it. And then it's, more than you realize.
You know what? When it comes to veterans issues and stuff like that, and like, look, man, I like telling stories, man. I love it. I love just like, that's why I joined the military. I heard all the stories that my dad and his homies fucking told one another. I came up with it. I was raised. It was like being a Spartan. You know what I mean? I was raised in the military. Then I joined the military. My brother was in the fucking military. It's like a big military family.
Right.
You know what I mean? But I wanted to be in charge, and maybe I didn't have the wherewithal to be in fucking charge. But like, that was my big problem. I had problems with authority, but that came from my childhood and stuff. Like I was always a question asker. I was always like questioning authority.
Mm-hmm.
You know, told me to do something that didn't make sense, I'd fucking fight you 120. I'd fight you until to nail. Even while I was doing it, I would tell you how stupid it is. You know what I mean? And that's not an attitude that carries over well into any world. But, when it comes to like, I'm very sensitive to like veterans issues, you know what I mean? Transition issues, stuff like that, guys getting out of the military, because again, it has been such a huge part of my life, and the majority of my life was military exposure. Mm-hmm. So when I hear about guys like having problems with this transition, man, and I did it years before a lot of my homies. Yeah. I'm completely sympathetic. I saw my dad go through it. My dad was like picking corn, you know what I mean? And then fixing shopping carts at Target, and he's not happy, not fitting in. Nobody retrains you how to think and behave like a civilian, which is a very self-centered world.
Yeah,
it is. It's very self-centered. I mean, the idea of like, we're all working towards a common objective. Yeah. I mean, as long as it's convenient, right. Like as long as it's convenient for me, otherwise I'll fucking quit. Well, there's just not, you don't run into that in the military, Right. So there is that transition. And on top of that, when you go into the military, there's the development of this mindset, And like, look, I was full of piss and vinegar and hate when I went in, no doubt about it. I didn't expect to come out alive. I thought for sure I was going to die either in a bar fight, knife fight, firefight. I was something like this is going to be a fight to the death. And then when you come out on the other side of it, nobody teaches you how to remove violence of action from your vernacular.
Right.
Violence of action. And here's the thing. We're not fucking broken. We're not broken. We're not like effed up individuals. We're all very clear thinking, logical individuals for the most part. And I'm tired of people saying that like military people are broken or that they have some sort of disorder, you know, based on what they had. Because really what we need as military members is just for society to accept us and say, okay, you are what you are.
Yeah.
If you're a fucking warrior, the warrior spirit persists in every society throughout all of freaking history, and you are what you are, and we welcome and accept that. We can accept everything else, but we can't accept the guy who's like, that's bullshit. I don't fucking like that.
Yeah. Well, I think part of that though is just how, like we've talked about earlier tonight, how American society has evolved. It's like, okay, you have your place there, but don't you fucking cross into our side because we don't want to think about that shit. And
it's not like they don't want to welcome us back. It's about an understanding.
I misspoke, but yeah. I just meant keep that there, but don't bring it here. More of a type thing, understanding that it's not something you just set down.
Look, we're not from the same generation. You know what I mean? Like, if you just look at like, you know, even like World War II, okay. Look how many people were drafted or volunteered for the war. There was a war in the Pacific. There was a war in Europe, and then everybody chipped in, right? Everybody. It affected everybody. Yeah. It affected like manufacturing, like companies changed over to make wartime goods, right? Like entire company, like say you made fucking buttons. Well, now you're making something else that's for the war effort. Everybody was a part of it. It was something that the entire country got into. And then you had Korea after that, immediately following. Well, you have all these veterans coming back from huge successes in World War II. Okay, from the Pacific and the European theater, everybody participated. There's this huge national fucking pride and patriotism. Then Korea comes along. Okay, got a lot of people participating in that. Okay, it freaking becomes a thing, and then it doesn't go so well. And then Vietnam happens, and then there's the draft, and nobody wants to participate. People start questioning the freaking motives of it. Okay, and then it becomes a real political thing where we weren't really in a war. It was like Vietnamization and all these other things happening, and then you come into the 80s and 90s, and people aren't about that anymore. Right? Nobody's about that. They don't understand what it's about, and then it's also in the media, in their faces. Yeah, you know what I mean? Like all the time, every day, you're getting live feeds from like what's happening in. I think back in the 80s, there was a lot going on in the Middle East. You know what I mean? A lot going on in the Middle East, and I think that what eventually happened was there became a separation between the military and the civilian world. Right. Where the civilian world just pulled away entirely and doesn't, you know, that we support the military, but we don't understand the military.
That's a good way to put it. Yeah.
Yeah, because you can read Sun Tzu as much as you want, but it doesn't apply to business like it applies to the fucking military. I guarantee you. Right. There's also because you've removed the violence of action that comes with warfare from the philosophy of Sun Tzu. So if you remove violence and everything that goes along with war, your understanding of it and your understanding of the people who engage in that violence has collapsed. You're not going to understand what you're talking about. You know what I mean? And it's going to be impossible for you to relate to those people who have engaged in violence as a profession on your behalf to further your political goals, your foreign policy, because the military is a tool that the government uses to enforce foreign policy. And who creates foreign policy? Your senators, your elected officials. Okay. In other words, you. So you don't want to take responsibility for the war, but you want us to go to war to further your economic fucking ends.
Right. Well, there's this thing that, and I don't know, 10 years or so, maybe this has been going on, maybe even more than that. I don't know, but where it's like there's this disconnect where it's like, if you support the military, then you're automatically assume that you support a war, but this thought that you can dislike a war, but also support the military and be like, you know, these guys are out there fighting for what we as a country believe in or what they believe in, regardless of whether you agree.
Foreign policy, but you support service member, which is what all that's asked of any American when it comes to respecting your veteran. You don't have to support the cause or whatever it is that they were fighting for, but you also have to understand that these people are engaged in a contract that they can't get out of.
Sure.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
Like, yeah, I can't just quit the fucking baseball club because I don't like how you're running the fucking team anymore.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, that's not how it works. You go to jail in the military. You know, everybody else, you're like, we're going to sue you for money you don't have. Okay, well, big deal. I'll declare bankruptcy and who cares? You know what I mean? It doesn't work like that with the UCMJ. It doesn't work like that when you stand there and you take that freaking vow, you know? And that's what people don't understand. Sorry.
No.
No, dude, was some of the best conversation we've had on this fucking
yes.
podcast. I'm grateful that you decided to spend time with us tonight. This is fucking cool.
And look, like I said, I'm a pretty straight shooter. I'm gonna give you my pretty unfiltered opinion. You know, when it comes to stuff. And like, here's the thing: I'm not running for office. I'm just some dude with an opinion. If you disagree with me, that's fine. I don't care. It doesn't make me like I don't hate people that disagree with me. Anything, it opens the door for more conversation, more dialect, more exploration of whatever it is that we're talking about. Like, and if I'm ignorant, fine, I'll admit it. I'm ignorant. I'm simple. I'm like an autodidact. I've been educating myself for so freaking long. It's like, bring it on, man. Like, bring it on. Bring on the knowledge. But if you're full of shit, I'm going to tell you you're full of shit. If you don't have credibility, if you're like one of those guys that's claiming shit that just ain't fucking true, I'll tell you. Like, if you're saying that you're a fucking historian and you're not, I'll fucking tell you you're not.
Right.
I'll fucking tell you. I mean, you're not a historian. Shut the fuck up.
Hey, we have a big flat earther proponent coming on here in January. You want to call him?
Like, dude, whatever. Like, that's for his own. Here's the thing. That's eccentricity.
Yeah.
And like, you don't want to acknowledge the achievements of every other fucking human astronomer before you, then that's fine. Like, you're a genius. You held it down. You and your flat earth homies all by yourself. But like, all these other motherfuckers are idiots, apparently.
Absolutely.
It's just a ploy by the government.
I've flown high enough in the sky to see the curvature of the earth.
It was a fisheye camera. You didn't know about the fisheye that was on your fucking goggles.
The crazy thing is, you can see the curvature of the earth just in a commercial flight. I mean, you don't have to go that high.
Stupid. Like, I've flown halfway around the fucking world, and then it's ridiculous.
Oh shit. So not that I want to keep harping on the military. I had a question that I was genuinely curious about because I didn't know how it worked. So when you went from Rangers to Pararescue, was that just like a lateral transfer? Did you just jump over? Or?
I tried to. I went to the recruiter when I was in probably my third year of the Ranger Battalion, and I asked him about it, like, how does this work? Because we had worked with some PJs, and I was like, these guys fucking smell like soap. You know what I mean? Like, I'm sleeping in the fucking dirt, or spooning with some guy at night, and these guys come in, they smell like soap. They have long hair. They call each other by their first name. Their sleeves are rolled up. Their boots are unbloused. Like, this is the fucking
right.
pros, man. Like, this is like the surfer guys of the military. That's what I want to go be a part of.
Yeah.
And I met some guys from actually Herbert Field Air Force Base at 23rd STS, and one of the guys I ended up with in Iceland. It's kind of funny. I ended up asking them about it. I was like, how does this work? They're like, oh yeah, man, just come on over. Ranger, fuck yeah, we'll take you. Come on over. They didn't say shit about the in-doc or anything like that. So, I did my 4 years in the Ranger Battalion, and I ETS'd, and then I had a baby like a month after I ETS'd, and then I got laid off of a construction job because the job was done, and then I didn't want to file for unemployment because my pride wouldn't let me. Mm-hmm. And then I think I always kind of had Pararescue in the back of my mind as like this dream job, you know what I mean? And so I went to the Air Force recruiter and I talked to him about it. And he said, well, you're going to lose a pay grade. Mm. And so I went from E5 to E4 and I joined the Air Force to become a pararescueman. And then I paid all my bills.
Okay, there you go. Nice. Yeah, I ended up getting discharged as an E5. I was scheduled to promote to 6, and found out I was getting discharged, and it locked me in rate, and it took them almost 2 fucking years to get my ass out. So I was stuck I was so pissed. But yeah, I was just wondering.
When I cross-trained over to the Air Force, man, they were like, "Oh, you'll be able to test out in no time." Well, the small print is that for prior service, you know, if you're from a different service, is that you had to have a skill level commensurate with your rank. So like I had to go through the entire pipeline, okay, which is like fucking 18 months, okay, to get a fucking 3 skill level. And then I had to go through all of the training required to get the 5 skill level, which was like another year.
Yeah.
Fucking training. And I'm talking like hammering it in training,
right,
just to get the 5 skill level so that I could test. So the whole idea that I was going to get that rank back, you know, fast, that was bullshit. That was bullshit. Yeah. So like where, you know, I lost a pay grade and I left the military as a E6, you know, I probably could have been an E7, you know, in the, you know, had I stayed in the Army, or an E8 even.
Yeah. That's it. I was in the spot. I just decided I was going to re-up and stay in. Like, this was going to be what I was going to do. And they're like, "Oh yeah, no, you're not." I was like, all right. And so, you know, it was one of those types of situations, but it's worked out better in the long run. But, you know, at the time I was like, well, fuck me.
I remember when I showed up in the Air Force, I showed up at the airport and I was fucking cocksure, man. Like I don't know what was going through me, but I showed up at the airport in San Antonio, and there's no shuttle to pick me up. So I called base transportation.
Nice.
And they sent a van out to pick me up. They sent like a van with some E1, man. And he picked me up and he drove me to the Medina Annex right there next to Lackland. And I stayed in the electronics principles building like that first night, not even in the fucking like the PJ Crow or CC. It wasn't Crows. It was PJ CCT in I stayed in the electronic principles building the first night. And like, while I was there were like all these INDOC quitters. Like,
wow. Yeah.
They already quit. And they're like, "You're not going to make it, dude. You're not going to make it. You know, it's not going to be, it's just not going to happen." And I'm looking at all these guys, and I was already like a Ranger, but I was also a 2-pack-a-day smoker. And I didn't know shit about the INDOC, man. I guess I was gonna have to swim or something. I fucking like threw out the cigarette that morning and went for a run, you know. At the end of the day, I was like, "This is fucking terrible. I don't think I can do this and keep smoking." For a while anyway. But yeah, it was a different kind of an experience. Yeah. And when people ask me about the differences between the two, you know, being in an Army Ranger and an Air Force Pararescue man, I will again tell you the difference is violence of action. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like it's all about how you engage, you know, with your objective. Right. You know, with Army Rangers, it's you know, dude, like lethal. Yeah. You know, violence of action. It was preached, it was practiced, it was driven into you, you know, that you are a violent gentleman. You know, you are a man who upholds the highest standards, but will inflict the greatest amount of pain, you know, on your adversary, but respect at the same time, you know, respect that the adversary is somebody who's going to come at you just as hard. Right. You know, and like, and there has to be a respect like that, you know, because who's this? I mean, it's ignorant to say that somebody else can't fight for what they believe in just as hard as you can. Right. You know what I mean? So, and then going over to the pararescue side, he was a little bit more. I remember when my first run at the INDOC, I started singing like this Ranger cadence. It was like left, right, kill. And instructor Troy Arcee stopped the devil, by the way. He stopped the entire formation to pick out the guy who was singing left, right, kill, and that was me. And let's just say that after that moment, my time at the INDOC, especially around the devil, was interesting. He explained to me that is not the mission, you know, that others may live is the motto. You know, you lay down rounds, you lay down the fury, like, you know, but it was a different sort of mentality, I guess, you know, and And I had that Ranger mentality, and it wasn't something that necessarily translated over in every way that it should have, because when it came to the business of the Air Force, command directed anger management. You know what I mean? I was the guy that when General Jumper showed up in Iceland, and I was showing him a Rams package during a dog and pony show. He was like, how often do you jump this? I was like, well, we never fucking jump it because the JAI never comes from stateside to inspect the package so that we can kick it out of the back of the fucking airplane. Yeah. You know what I mean? And meanwhile, like the group commander's eyes look like fucking saucers. My boss, the fucking chief, the PJ chief is just like, what the fuck are you doing? But the next week, we're jumping out of fucking airplanes with Rams packages. I'm just the dickhead who said it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Right.
Guy, General Jumper hands you a coin, but on the fucking backside, everybody's like, you don't fucking talk to the general like that.
Right.
Yeah, like that was always me. Like if my boss showed up and he was like, hey, do you want to go to dinner? I'm like, do I have to? I can tell you all the fucking things that need to happen here. Like we don't have to be social to fucking get shit done. Like I'd rather not go to dinner with you. Yeah. Just to tell you that we need some fucking spray paint around here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Not that I was ever on that caliber whatsoever, but I went in, I was 25 when I went in. I was divorced and broke as shit. And I was like, well, fuck, I might as well, and I was like, it's the Coast Guard seemed cool. I was like, I'm always going to be on a beach, whatever. And I was in Alaska like 90% of the time, but but I was a little older going in. So like a lot of the kids, I was like, just shut your fucking mouth. Life would be fine. Just shut your fucking mouth. And the 18-year-old kids, but I had a couple instances.
Shut your mouth guy. I'm the guy that asked the question that everybody's thinking that knows that they shouldn't ask. Oh yeah. They're like, Willis is going to ask that question. I'm just going to hold off.
Well, no. I was fine with that. I meant like in the boot camp thing at 25. I was like, you're fucking 18 years old. Like you don't talk to your buddy. Just shut up and we'll fucking get through this. It'll be fine.
Oh, no. But I had brothers and like I said, like I had ambition. You know what I mean? I don't know what it was for. I think my ambition was just to be like really great, like be a great ranger. Right. And then it turned out that I was just a mediocre ranger because I didn't have a fucking the maturity. The maturity to fucking be a really gifted leader. Like the guys like Alex Crabb and Darren Smith and Bubba Moore, these guys that I looked up to, they just seem to have like a lot more maturity overall than I had. Me, dude, like even now, I'm like a 19-year-old kid. I don't know what it is. I'm infected. Like my body is giving up, but I'll be a kid in my brain forever. Like but like, especially in the Ranger Battalion when I was really young, I just didn't have the maturity to be really great at my job. Right. I would lose my fucking helmet.
Gotcha.
Like, where's your cape? I'm like, it's fucking in the window.
So what I was saying is like I was never afraid to speak up if it needed to be spoken up, but I was kind of like in that in between because I remember one time I was up in Alaska and this guy was he was a 7, but he was just a fucking cock, like just for the sake of being one, to other departments, whatever. And he came in. What's that?
That's me. That's my MO all day long. I was a dick. I loved it. I enjoyed it. It was harder to be a consistent dick than a nice guy every day.
Yeah, for sure.
Tell people it's harder for me to be consistently a dick to everybody than a nice guy. I'm just a dick to everybody.
Right. But he was a dick. Like the guys that they were underneath me that I was dealing with. He was just fucking unnecessarily a dick to them. And I lost my shit one time and I was like, no, dude, fuck you. No, we've had enough. And I was a 5. He was a 7. So it was a terrible. And I ended up apologizing later, but it got my guys. But because of me being willing to run my mouth, it worked out for my guys. I got fucked the fuck over. But
well, here's where the military does guys wrong, and especially when you talk about infantry, combat, freaking MOS and stuff like that. Yeah. Like we used to take it to the wood line.
Yeah.
Take it to the wood line, man. 2 men enter, 1 man leaves. Like, and it's done when you leave the wood line. You know what I mean? Take it to the wood line. You got something to sort it out. Like I won my slot to Ranger School by fucking up Eric Carell's leg. You know what I mean? Like it was like both you guys get in the center, wrestle off, and like I ankle picked him and drove my shoulder into his knee. It effed his knee up. I went to Ranger School. By the time I got back, the guy's still in the knee brace. I felt like shit. But that's what environment that we grew up in was just like, you know, that's what you're going to do. So, you know, that doesn't translate. Like I could fight with my boss.
Right.
I got in a fight with my boss at his house. He bit my kitty and I bit the top of his head. We were both bleeding by the end of it. You know what I mean? And you know what? The next day, we're back at work making it happen. Yeah, he had no grudges. I got a bruise. He's got a fucking bite mark on his head. I got a bite mark on me. People are like, that's fucking weird. And I'm like, I'm good with it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But here's the thing. It doesn't translate. You can't do that. You can't call your boss a clown in the civilian world.
No.
You can't say, hey man, this is fucking clown ops or fucking whatever. You can't use that same vernacular and expect that people are going to rebound from it. And this is a lesson that I'm telling myself this as much as I'm saying it to anybody else right now. Because I'm the worst. I'm the
note to self, you cannot call your boss a cunt. You know?
Definitely can't say you're running a clown show, you know what I'm saying?
Oh shit. The only other things I had were fucking comments I read on his dick. That was really about all I had, but this is taking a much more mature.
Sure. Thanks, Pop. Thanks, Pop.
Yeah.
Good. It works out.
Yeah. My favorite one is over the maximum length parameters. That was my favorite one out of all of them.
Babe. My penis is over the maximum length parameter.
Yeah. Yeah. And also bring out Dave Baker's tape, pocket tape to measure it. Those are my two.
Oh my God.
What was the other question?
Oh no, it was a question. It was just said bring out Dave Baker's pocket tape measure to check the length. that was the other.
It'll be off.
Oh shit. I really didn't have any other question. This has gone like so fucking fun.
Yeah.
Well, I hope you guys had a good time. I had a good time chatting with you. I hope we didn't say anything that was too incriminating or.
Oh
no, dude. No. Dude, this has been language wise even pretty mild. Like we the profanity is welcome and encouraged here.
You know what? I've been trying to curb it a little bit. Like try to only use it when it's appropriate. I think it flares up a little bit when anytime I start talking about military stuff and like I said, it's just a vernacular that. I think for the period of time that I was in the military is completely acceptable. Yeah. I mean, nowadays, you know, you call somebody a fucking dumbass and there's a report a survey or some shit, you know what I mean? Yeah. You point finger guns at somebody and they're like, oh my God, he threatened to kill me. You're like, are you kidding me?
Yeah.
Fuck up. Like, I'm serious. I'm so tired of like the fucking sissies that we have in this country. Where are the fucking like the barrel-chested goddamn frontiersmen and women that fucking built this country and we're just hard asses with calloused fucking knees and elbows and every calloused fucking everything. Like where are these people, man? Like that.
I've said it on here before. I'm like, I understand toxic masculinity, but toxic masculinity built fucking bridges that get you across the bays in this country. So
you know what? And you want to know what? All those fucking dudes that built those bridges, like the Brooklyn Bridge and all that shit, you know what they did? They fucking put those guys in diving bells and they would fucking push them down to the bottom of the fucking river and they would fucking build down there. And then on the way up, they would do what? Experiments on them. For what? Navy diving fucking programs, man. All of the fucking Navy diving research that's out there was basically came from bridge building back in the fucking day. Underwater bridge building, all those fucking decompression tables, all of that shit, the decompression stops, that all came from Americans who were just badasses building shit. That's what we do. That's what we live for. We use our hands. We build shit. If you fucking are having a bad time, you fucking fucked up in the head, get a puzzle. Build it. It's a 1963 Chevy Nova with a 383 stroker. What's your puzzle look like? What do you put your brain and energy into?
Yeah, I mean,
like that. That's what I say.
Right on. Well, Will, like legit, dude. Honest. Okay, first and foremost, congrats on getting that bitch running. That's fucking fantastic. Yeah. Like I've been following this story, and I'm like, I was stoked.
I needed a win.
Is there something that tied you to that car that made you pick the '63 Nova?
You know what? I think that I just like the idea. Well, my dad was supposed to graduate from high school in '63, but he got hepatitis and he didn't graduate until '64. But I like that. I for some reason that year I just really liked it. And then the style of that Nova, it looks like an old school government G-Man boxy car. You know, it's like a 2-door. It's a coupe. You know what I mean? It's got a really boxy look to it. It reminds me of like when I was a kid and we had Hot Wheels cars. You know what I mean? And it's like limo black with that red interior, just like a Hot Wheels car.
Yeah.
And it freaking and you know, I grew up always in the 70s and 80s, we would go on road trips, you know what I mean? In the station wagon, like 5 kids in the back, and you'd see a fucking hot rod go by and go like, mine.
Yes. Yeah.
Mine.
Yeah.
And you would just call it out. Me and my brothers and sisters, we had a game. And for some reason, man, I've always liked hot rods. And that Nova, it just really spoke to me when I bought it. And I put a lot of work into it and a lot of love into it. And it's been a lot of places. And I wish that I got to drive it more. But I think that for me, it's a meditation that I really enjoy. It's black and red, same colors as the Ranger Battalion from when I was in there. You know what I mean? It's got that 383 stroker in it, which is just like growling muscle and you know. And let's face it, like there's something that's missing in our world today, and it's fellas, man.
Yes.
Fellas, like, dude, like, where are all the fucking fellas, man? Where are all the dudes that like to get dirty? And I'm not talking about these fucking, you know, these guys with sleeve tattoos, and I tie my hair up too, man. But the sleeve tattoos, man buns, but you don't know how to fucking change a tire on your car.
Yeah. Right.
You don't know how to fucking, you know, do your own oil.
Don't even know how to drive a stick shift in most cases.
Shit. And like the world is full of. What did you say? Don't say it. She told me not to say it.
Okay.
The world's full of flowers.
There you go.
Like, we need more grizzlies out there. You know?
No, I agree. There's something about being able to do that kind of thing, but just being interested in that kind of thing. But it's a very fulfilling when you put your hands into something to do some work on that. And I mean, I worked in a machine shop years ago, and I didn't make a lot of money, but it's one of the most fulfilling jobs I ever had, because you see a chunk of metal go into the machine and come out as a part to go. Well, for us, we were making it for Marshall Space Flight Center in Huntsville, Alabama. So you see an aerospace part come out. That's some real shit. And the guy I worked with was a real hands-on guy. He absolutely used the CNC aspect of it, but he was a hands-on, get your hands dirty, get in there kind of guy. And I mean, it's great. Like I said, most fulfilling job I ever had, because you see something come out of nothing. And
well, that's what I really liked about Forged in Fire.
Yeah,
you know,
absolutely.
Forged in Fire. One of the best things in the world was like, okay, how's this guy going to take that and turn it into that? Is it going to happen? And then after a while, it becomes routine. It becomes repetition. And like, look, nobody's had more freaking lecture on knife making in the history of the fucking world than this guy here. Nobody's been lectured more about knives, about the making of knives, about marsenite and all of that crap that these guys fucking talk about and that I have to retain so that I can interrogate them later. You know what I mean? Like, nobody has freaking learned more about knife making and freaking bladesmithing, like just like lecture wise, than this guy right here, than this guy. But the reality is that like all of that learning means nothing if you can't freaking apply it. So that's why I started making knives. Like, you know, fucking let's put some of this, you know, some of the stuff you guys are teaching me, like apply it. And I think that more people need to just start taking things that they're creatively interested in and just doing it. Just do it. Like, I didn't know what I was doing. I was like, fuck it, this chunk of steel. Like, if these guys could do it, I can do it. And the first few knives I made, they were garbage, man. Like, they were garbage. I like hot dog handles and weird convex grind, all the shit that you're not supposed to do. But the thing is that you just keep doing it. It's just like the car. I couldn't figure out the car, but you keep doing it and you keep doing it and you keep doing it. Then eventually you figure it out. And you know what happens when you figure it out? You get that little bit of satisfaction that comes from accomplishing something that maybe you didn't think you'd be able to accomplish.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? There were some moments with this Nova where I was like, dude, I just turned off the lights. dumped my fucking piss bottle on the fucking nearest pine tree, and it came upstairs defeated. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I'm dehydrated. I'm defeated. It's been a fucking terrible day. You know, I want to quit. But then you go out there and you re-engage. And you re-engage. Why? Because you don't have any choice, man. There's no choice. Like, you have to. You have to. Like every day you wake up, you feel like garbage. Guess what, man? You got no choice. You're still breathing. Get out there. You don't have a choice. Just make the best of it. Don't like get through one day without complaining. And then the next day and the next day and the next day. And I complain about a lot of shit all day long. But the way that I complain about it is in a way that I can friggin' not really like dwell on it either. You know what I mean?
Sure.
So,
I
don't know.
All right.
Are you guys done? You want to be done now?
No,
sure. No,
but I wanted to say though, I appreciate you putting up with me being essentially like a clingy first date. Be like, oh God, how are you? What's going on? Can we do this later? Like, I appreciate that.
Look, I'm the worst. I'm the worst about like my wife. She used to manage all the business, and then I told her I didn't want to do it anymore because it stressed me out that it might stress her out.
Yeah.
And then I'm terrible. I'm terrible at court. I didn't even have a computer.
Right.
You know, for work until I was in the Air Force. And then I was like, what the hell I was in Iceland. They're like, here's your computer. I'm like, what the fuck do I need that? So like when it comes to technology and correspondence, and again, I'm bad about it, but I appreciate more reminders than no reminders.
No, I try to keep, I'm exaggerating, but I appreciate your patience in the back and forth, man. It's been, I'm grateful that you agreed to come on here. I really am.
Next guest.
What's that?
Who's your next guest?
Our next, well, we've got another podcast guy or a couple guys that we've gone back and forth with, but our next guest we've never had is that Flat Earth guy on January 16th.
Yeah. So we have a guy next weekend.
Yeah.
From another podcast that we've kind of buddied up with. So we'll that'll be an interesting one. But
the 16th, I think the guy's name is something Weiss. He's a big, like one of the forerunners in the Flat Earth movement.
He's been on with Alex Jones and Sam
InfoWars and all that
and
shit.
So, he's been on some stuff. So we'll see how that goes.
Yeah, that'll be fun.
Dude, to the back seat of a freaking U2. And like just fly him around the earth.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, look, you're as ignorant as you want to be.
Yeah,
sure.
That's the truth. You're as educated or as ignorant as you want to be. Okay. If you're happy with the world being fucking flat, then that's what you're going to believe.
Yeah. I'm all about the conversation, man. Like I told you earlier, I just love fucking talking to people.
Sure.
I think this shit'll be fantastic. But
I want to talk to this guy. I want to tell him he's retarded.
Oh God,
well, dude,
that'll make it an end of the year show.
By retarded, I mean like the timing on my Nova, a little behind.
You know what? But I understand that. I had an old. It's not as manly as a Nova, but I had a early '70s Beetle, and you would have to retard or advance the timing to get it to run right.
Well, I also understand because I had a cousin that was retarded.
Jesus, man. Oh, Jesus. So yeah.
No, but Will, seriously, man, we thank you for coming on. Like, not that you would, but you're welcome anytime.
Sure.
I appreciate it, you guys. Thank you for having me. I appreciate you guys reaching out, man. It was a great chat. I loved it. And I might have some news coming out later this year about what's happening with our documentaries and where we're taking that stuff. So
awesome.
If you log on to Instagram, you'll probably see that stuff. All right.
Yeah,
sure.
And is there anything like before we let you go, did you want to promote or mention or just fucking roll with it and whatever?
I don't think that I don't think I need to get any. You guys promoted me enough. I really appreciate it, man. So I don't need to like try to suck my own penis like I did back in the day. Trap. No, I'm kidding.
Well, if you ever need a couple Southern guys to pretend to be broadcasters for Monkey Fist, you just let us know.
Well, hey, we're about to end the broadcast. If you can give us about 2 seconds offline, just to holler at you real quick. Yeah, I'm going to end that. And Mr. Wil Willis, man, thank you for being here.
So next week, guys, we didn't say at the beginning of the show, but next week we'll be drinking El Mayor Tequila. If you want to go buy you some and drink with us, it's Blanco El Mayor Tequila. So that's what the bottle looks like. Just drink with us next week. I'm pretty sure we're having Troy on with us. Woo. All right. Give us a thumbs up on Facebook at B3F Podcast. Follow us on Twitter at B3F Podcast and on Instagram at B3F_podcast. Send us your questions or comments to bfff.podcast@gmail.com. Rate us and review us wherever you listen to the show. And as always, thanks for listening.